Shooter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's the winner. That's the winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's the winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to the World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
Welcome to That's a Winner podcast. I am Ryan Jenkins. With me, as always, is Josh Brown. Kyle Peach is going to join us as well. We haven't been around. This is season 2, so this is 1 year and 1 day anniversary since our first ever podcast. The first episode was talking about Ollie Marmol being named the head coach, the head manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, and now we're 1 year and 1 day later, and there's a big shakeup that happened today in St. Louis. So let's talk about it a little bit. I had this whole soliloquy all planned out of why Jeff Albert was terrible. And I had everything that I was going to talk about. And this was, we've been discussing over, a week or so or more of what we were going to talk about on the next episode. And it was all going to be why Jeff Albert and all these stats and everything I had ready to go of why he was terrible and why he needed to go. And then today he just quit. So it's kind of took the wind out of the sails of what all I was going to say. But, throughout this entire season, of 2022, Josh is usually the negative one. The moment that the first run is scored.
Pessimist. I prefer realist.
Yes.
So I tell my wife I'm realistic.
Yeah. So usually the first run scores, the game's over, right? First inning, this game's over. I'm shutting it off. Me, I'm usually it's all right. It's the first inning, no big deal. And then I will usually be the negative one at the end of the season, which is now, right? This is when I'm negative, burn it all down, start over, get rid of them all, right? That's where usually I then go a little crazy and haywire.
Especially after a first round playoff exit.
Yes, right? So, Jeff Albert, so I just want to talk about that briefly. I don't know how briefly, we'll see.
You didn't have to break out all the stats. Apparently, he was checking Twitter the whole year.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. Do you think that he was actually checking Twitter? Is that why he was on his way out, is because I don't think so. Here's what really happened to me. This is my opinion. My opinion alone. Do I have any inside information? No, except for what guys have said. Tommy Edman has said in the past. What Albert Pujols has said in the past about analytics. What all these guys have said differently. Who do they go to? Who has helped? Turner Ward. Who have they talked about? They talk about other guys. They don't ever mention Jeff Albert as that guy or someone that's really helped them. They don't mention Jeff Albert. Jeff Albert, I think, has issues in the clubhouse and analytics. Tommy Edman mentioned, we did it his way, a certain way, and it didn't work out. And no one knew exactly who he was talking about, but it comes to find out that was Jeff Albert. So there's all these different ways there's issues going on from the inside. So for him to cop out and say all these outside forces BS that, he just couldn't handle the heat, that the issue was the St. Louis Cardinals, or, that he couldn't get them to hit. So let me ask you this. What was Jeff Albert's number one goal or job, philosophy in hitting?
I think his biggest philosophy is what he implemented in the minor leagues.
But what specific thing? What would you say is Jeff Albert's philosophy?
What I've seen and read in the articles is mainly exit velocity.
Correct. All
right,
so
exit velocity. And he accomplished that with the minor leaguers.
Barreling the ball.
Yes.
Hitting the ball hard, exit velocity. What if I told you in those three things the Cardinals were 25th to 30th in all three of those?
And he failed.
Right. So people keep on saying, okay, we
were a top 10 offense.
That's what I was about to say. They keep on saying we're a top 10 offense, we're all these things, but also, do you know that we were shut out the second most in all of baseball?
Yep.
In the last 15 games in the postseason, we scored 2 or fewer runs.
Yeah, that's dating back to 2014, right?
No, since Jeff Albert.
Just since Jeff Albert.
That's just Jeff Albert.
Wow.
So he had good stretches, yes, but then the offense would go cold, and then he couldn't do anything to help those guys get them better.
Yeah.
That's where he went wrong, and that's what he couldn't help anyone do. He might be a great mind on those things, but his goal was exit velocity and hitting the ball, barreling the ball, and he couldn't get anyone to do that according to the analytics.
Yeah.
When the Cardinals rank 25th, 26th, 27th in those categories, you can't tell me if that's his philosophy that he's doing a good job if that's what he wanted to do.
No. And here's what I think happened, because we do have this. So, I mean, Jeff Jones, Katie Wu, Gould, all of them had, great quotes and tweets, live tweeting the press conference today with Mozeliak. But Jeff Jones had one from earlier today on Albert, and Mo said that, this is Jeff Jones' tweet, Mo said that Albert had, quote, frustration about the frequency with which he, quote, took blame for the team's offensive struggles and mentioned the tenor of social media comments as a factor in that frustration. So when I read that, I don't think he sat there during the season and was reading comments and tweets and Facebook posts. I think after they got bounced in the first round of the playoffs, he started to look at those comments because they were really coming out harder then.
But they've been coming out since 2019.
Yes. But I think for the most part this year, until September and going into the playoffs hit.
But what about
I
last
remember
year?
you and I having a whole lot of this offense sucks. It was quite the opposite. I mean, Goldschmidt started slow again, but
the conversations we had though were guys that
they weren't as inconsistent last year as they were this year, I think.
Right, but there was guys that would go into slumps and they wouldn't come out of them.
Exactly.
That's what we talked about.
Even
this
the
year.
veterans,
absolutely,
which is puzzling. I mean, there's still some debate on a guy like Goldschmidt or Arenado. How much do they actually need or listen to a hitting coach in terms of getting out of slump? You wouldn't think it would have to be that much, but you and I have had this conversation. I think there's some general camaraderie and maybe a belief in a little bit more of listening to somebody when you're in a slump. If they're a major leaguer that is, well decorated in their accolades and knows how to help get through a slump. And so, yeah, to your point, Jeff Albert can't do that. He hasn't done that. And, I mentioned to you before we even found out about Albert today, when Skip, we haven't talked about Skip yet, but Skip getting the job with the Marlins, I said, why not just put Jeff Albert on as the bench coach and get a new hitting coach?
Absolutely. Right. And that part of it, and I think that even that Mo would have offered him something higher up in the front office.
Yeah.
And he walked away with it because he's
it really seems like he walked away because he couldn't handle the heat.
You're absolutely right.
I've never seen that before. Not with a major league staff.
Absolutely.
Because some people were like, oh, well, the timing of this, yeah, he really walked away. This was probably like a force, but no, Mo said
he had contract ready to go.
Yeah, he had an extension in hand ready to go. Kyle Peach is telling us, let me in.
All right, let me go.
So he's ready to come in.
Let's bring Kyle in.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It was odd, an odd day. The Mike Maddox thing didn't surprise me that much. And
he's older.
He's older, and Mo said like he didn't want to travel as much, and he didn't say retired because it sounds like I read earlier that Mike might come back in some sort of special assistant form or fashion. And I didn't have much of a problem with him as pitching coach. I think he did fine. I mean, he didn't blow me away, but he didn't do awful.
Right. All right, Kyle, we'll bring you in with your Cardinal stuff in the background, Cardinals jersey on. Got everything going. So, what's your first thoughts of Jeff Albert not being the hitting coach?
Woo! That's my first thought.
That's 90% of Twitter, right?
Yes. Thank goodness that's finally happening. Glad to see him go. Glad to see the Cardinal offensive production uptick. We will have to see next year because he's no longer the hitting coach.
I mean, and I think that's a big part of it is people, said, well, you didn't really like John Mabry before. And sure, right? But I think there's a thing, and someone said Albert Pujols and Jeff Albert were buddy, and he's the reason of the resurgence of his second half. If you didn't watch the home run derby and see when he changed his bat to a lighter bat in the middle of the home run derby, then all of a sudden figure it out, and then he's the greatest right-handed hitter of all time, and you think that Jeff Albert all of a sudden figured that out for him, I'm sorry, I can't help you if that's what you have to think about that part of it. He's Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
Like you think he's the one, like Jeff Albert said, here it is. No, Jeff Albert couldn't help Nolan Gorman hit in the big leagues better. He couldn't help Paul DeYoung. Paul DeYoung went away from Jeff Albert and got immensely better, came back and was able to hit for 2 weeks and then couldn't hit again. He couldn't get him back on track. Paul Goldschmidt should still be the MVP this year, but was cold for a month.
Yeah.
And if you're the hitting coach of a Major League Baseball team, you should be able to get him back on track at some point, especially going into October when you won the NL Central.
I think and I said this on Twitter several times, but I think the $1 billion question in regards to Jeff Albert was Goldschmidt, for example.
Yeah.
Was he listening to Jeff Albert's philosophy in May, June, July, and August, and not in April and September when he was awful, or is it vice versa?
Well, here's my
and if he wasn't, if he stopped listening to him after April when he was struggling, and then had a great May, June, July, or August, why would he go back to listening to him in September? It doesn't seem to make sense.
Here's what I think about it. I think about Tommy's comments from 2021. And I think a lot of what happened was when guys, it didn't work initially, and then you could see Paul Goldschmidt in April, whenever it didn't go well initially. Then they decide to do their own thing.
Right.
Then it goes bad a little bit. So then they go to the hitting coach like, okay, I need some help. And then it doesn't ever improve.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it just spirals because then you go to who you think should be the one that gets you right, and he doesn't. That's where he missed the boat. And if he can't handle the pressure, I'm happy he is no longer in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. Like that is someone like I want the pressure to be high, right? I want the expectations to be high for the St. Louis Cardinals. Like if you're not thinking to win just the Central every single year and then making long postseason runs, then I don't want you in the organization. Like that is the only thing that should be happening.
Jumping in here just a second, let's not just talk about Albert Pujols, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Gorman. How about Randy Arozarena from 2019? How about Tyler
Garcia?
How about Adolis Garcia? How about Harrison Bader hitting home runs left and right in New York? Somebody's figured out how to make guys that couldn't hit with us under him hit after they've left.
Yeah, and I think about the Harrison Bader part of it too. I think I tweeted out he had 85 games he played in 2022. He hit 5 home runs. He played in 9 postseason games and hit 5 home runs. That's on pace for 90 home runs. We all know that Harrison Bader is a streaky hitter and can be really good. Next summer is gonna be really tough for Harrison Bader and the New York fans. Like he's gonna struggle.
They booed Aaron Judge.
They booed Aaron Judge, who hit 62 home runs.
They booed him. What I don't know what game that was.
Yeah.
in the championship series. It was when the first series.
Yeah, and
because he struggled the first.
He had
series,
a bunch
LDS,
of Ks.
yeah.
Like whenever Bader strikes out, goes at 0 for 20 and has 15 strikeouts in that stretch. Like they're gonna. I've been looking at all like Bader's. I seen as things have mentioned as equal to Mickey Mantle as one of the best center fielders in Yankees histories. He's played dozen games for them ish. You know what I mean? Like Bader is a streaky hitter, and he had great series and great stretches for the St. Louis Cardinals, but he couldn't stay healthy and he couldn't hit consistently. Now, it's either going to be A, he figured it out because he went to a place that could teach him how to hit, or it just got hot for that amount of time. I want to transition here to Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let me change my graphic. I got to get that off there. We have questions and stuff coming in, but we're gonna rant a little bit before I get to all those things that are popping up. But I want you to tweet this out, or send this tweet out so people can see it and share it. So Nolan Arenado will opt out. That's what we're saying. Nolan Arenado will opt out. Why will Nolan Arenado opt out? We've done the research. Josh and I drove from Indianapolis, Indiana to St. Louis to watch the final game of the regular season in St. Louis to see Albert Pujols hit 702. Was that right on the last game?
Yep.
It was 702. And during that time, we looked up Nolan Arenado's contract. Did you know this now, I'm not asking you. Did you know that if Nolan Arenado opts out of his contract, the Colorado Rockies have to pay Nolan Arenado $20 million. If Nolan Arenado opts into this contract with the St. Louis Cardinals, that $20 million goes to the St. Louis Cardinals to help pay for the remaining years of the contract with the Cardinals.
Right.
So let me ask you, why would Arenado not opt out of that contract? In theory, he could sign a $20 million, I can take $20 million for opting out, and then I can sign the exact same deal that was left over with the Cardinals if I wanted. I think it's 5 years left, counting 23.
Yes.
So
and
five,
I've got the sports track here. If
Yeah.
I want to read that exact language here.
Yeah.
So this is surrounding that Colorado paying all of the $35 million in 2021, which they did this year, and 15 million. Well, this says 35 million 2021 salary, 15 million in 2021. I think that was just extra to help.
Yeah.
But this says if Arenado doesn't opt out after 2022, which is where we're at now, Colorado will send STL the remaining 20 million to be paid out 4 million each of 2023 through 2027. If Arenado does opt out after 2022, Colorado will pay Arenado the 20 million directly.
That's right. So he has
So-
5 years left.
Why would he not?
Why would you
You're
not?
leaving 20 million on the table.
You're leaving 20 million.
Even if you had a great conversation with Mo this week, which it sounds like they did, he's
Yeah.
optimistic. I don't think Mo would say he's optimistic if he didn't have him in the bag coming back. But Arenado, I don't know why he wouldn't say, look, I'm going to opt out because that's 20 million. Why would I not go ahead and get that? I'm going to get that
Yeah.
back. Then I'll work with you guys. We can restructure a no opt out
Right.
5-6 year deal, whatever it is.
He could literally sign a 5-year, $30 million each year contract, like the exact same contract that he has now.
Right.
And still make 20 extra million dollars. Who is leaving?
Why wouldn't you do it?
Who is leaving 20 million on the table? No one would.
No.
So the conversation that Mo gave us today in the presser was he and Nolan Arenado sat down. They had a conversation. Nolan asked about, I want to use the exact words that Mo said, but how they're going to
I've got that
deploy
here, too.
their resources, I do believe is what was said.
Yeah.
How the Cardinals plan to deploy their resources for 2023. Arenado's asking, what are you going to do to improve this team?
Which is what I told you
He
going
should
in
do.
that I hope, and
I hope he
and
does.
I honestly, because Denton's quote from Mo said today, I don't think it's about reworking the deal. He's just trying to use his time and sort through some things. He asked questions on how we're thinking about the club, what we're thinking about in the future, and topics like how are we going to deploy our resources. It was a very positive conversation. Again, I'm hopeful and optimistic. So, look, he might have gotten a verbal, yes, we're increasing payroll. We're going after XYZ guys. You're going to see us get at least one or two of them, whatever it is. But I almost wish Nolan, and I've told you this, would take it a step further and be like, okay, it sounds great. I'm going to go ahead and opt out to get that 20 million. We'll keep talks going on restructuring my deal, but I'm not signing off on anything until I see XYZ player sign,
Right.
or till I see payroll jump whatever percentage that he's promised him it's going to jump. I would love if he did that. I think most of Cardinal Nation would probably love
Absolutely.
if he did that, considering since 2013 when we got Carlos Beltran, we have done nothing significant in free agency. Not a big signing at all. And even the Beltran one, that was a team friendly 2-year deal because he was at the back end of his career and it worked out beautifully when Albert left.
All right, so I want to take it another step forward. I want to piss some people off. So why not? I'm going to piss you off too. Why not let him opt out and don't re-sign him? All right, you ready for this?
You've
Okay.
already done this
All
with
right.
me.
All right, so you let him opt out, and you let Jordan Walker or Nolan Gorman play their natural position at third base, and then you have an extra now $60, $70, $80 million to sign 2-3 players, Contreras, Turner, and Judge. You have that money available if you get rid of Arenado. You let the guys that you think are the next in time to come up, because we're already talking about, can Jordan Walker play outfield? Can he play center field? Can he play right field? Can Nolan Gorman play second base? We've already had those conversations. Can they do it? Can they move around? Can we get Nolan Gorman some reps in the outfield, right? All those conversations have already been had. Both those guys have strong arms, and both of them want to play third base. So if you let Nolan Arenado go, you have so much more money for the next 5 years, and right now you could sign 3 dudes. And think of that lineup. And I know you're losing the
Best third baseman
Yes.
in the National League.
We also had the best center fielder in all of baseball, I think, as well, in Harrison Bader of
Wow.
defending.
Offensively and defensively. I mean, Nolan
Yeah,
is
that's
1-2 probably
Right, I
with
was gonna say
Austin Riley.
And Machado had a great year.
Yes.
There's other guys that play third base on the offensive side very well, right? I get it. But I'm saying the way that they talk about Jordan Walker, the way that they expect Jordan Walker, and the timetable of Jordan Walker has been accelerated because of the issues in the outfield.
Which is why I would argue you need Nolan.
Right. Well, hey, look,
because
I'm just
that's
putting it out there.
look,
Don't strike out in every at bat in the postseason, or Ryan Jenkins will disown you. That's
Yeah.
but here's the thing. So I went back and was
story.
looking at those games. We talked about exit velocity earlier.
He had
Nolan had the highest exit velocity in both of those playoff games.
I don't know the stat. It's like BFIB, something like that.
In terms of hit, like it was supposed to be a hit or
yes,
not, very high.
I know it was.
He was stinging the ball.
I think it was 400.
That game one, there was that ball that he hit.
I don't know what it stands for. It's like expected.
It's
batting.
expected like hit percentage, or like that the ball hit should have been a hit.
Right, and it was
Okay.
showing that he was unlucky. Is what it
Call
was.
me
what it
Mike.
showed.
Call me Mike Schilt, but it wasn't a hit and it wasn't
And
a
outs,
run. It doesn't
and outs and
count.
out, and outs and out. But the guy who was striking out every time was Paul Goldschmidt, not Nolan Arenado. And that's the tough thing with this playoffs. Like,
But
it sucks because they didn't land his hits. You know,
Right.
he had that ball in game one. I was watching. I'm like, oh, that's gone. He had that swing, that look,
Yeah,
and
he
it
thought
just
he was gone.
died. And it was like a 90% whatever. It
Right.
just died. And outs and out at the end of the day. And these guys need to hit come playoffs. But we saw this coming after September. You know, I mean, really since August 30th, both of them were struggling. But to just, for my opinion on what you just said, and Kyle, I want you to talk about it too. But I would say keep Nolan. And I would argue that it makes you better now because there's such a big need in outfield.
Right.
And you can get Jordan Walker up quicker and still have Nolan. And then plus for me at the end of the day, if they let Nolan go, I still don't think they're going to spend on 2 or 3 guys and get the money.
Well, sure. That I don't
But
disagree with.
you've said that like Mozeliak said today, we're increasing payroll, which I've never heard him be that transparent and come out and say that. So we're increasing payroll. You don't have a Yachty on the books. You don't have Pujols on the books, which I know his contract was really friendly. We don't know yet what Wainwright's going to get paid for this year. I would assume it's probably not quite as big as 2022, maybe near the same. They've got money, man. Albert Pujols made them enough money to sign whoever they want to sign this year after what we did with attendance and his home run chase.
Absolutely. I'll mention David Lane-Killer. Sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Yeah. Thanks for. I understand why, and I appreciate you guys explaining this. Look, I've been blowing people up today. I'm saying, and I've been teasing. I'm going to tell you why Arenado's opting out, and I'm going to tell you tonight. And people are like, "You're crazy." And I think it, and I think I understand just hearing that and thinking, "No way."
Yeah.
But it makes sense why he will and why he should, and why every single one of us would as well. For $20 million, you're gonna do that, and you're gonna make them make sense. And that's why when people don't understand, when it says we hope we'll get it worked out, and people are like, what's to work out? He just has to opt in. Well, there's more to it.
Yeah,
it's gonna be another contract ready to go. I think, in all honesty, what I think will happen, it will be a new contract already ready to go at that 5 days after the World Series. And if Mo has shown enough that he's wanting to sign players that Arenado wants, that he's happy with, because no matter what, Nolan Arenado wants to win, and that's it. Even if he didn't contribute in the 2-3 games, whatever it was, like he just wants to win, and he wants to win the Central again, and he wants to make the playoffs, and that was his first time winning the division. You know, he wants to just keep doing that. So, and that's why it makes sense for him to opt out. Have that contract from Mo ready to go, a 6-year new deal instead of 5 years. He'll add an extra year, something like that, or even sign the exact same thing just so he can get the extra $20 million. Because Mo wants to do that too, wants to make him happy. Now, the Cardinals miss out on $20 million as well, but Nolan Arenado has the leverage. He has all the leverage.
You already got his salary paid for in 2021 by the Rockies.
2021 was cost nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, if he opts out, it's gonna cost the Cardinals more money. Yes. But the Cardinals
in the long term though, not in the short term. I mean, that was
$4
$4 million a year.
Yeah, $4 million for a few years. So I get it. Well, so thanks to David for at least saying we explained it to one.
And we
person.
didn't know that until we looked it up either.
Right.
I mean, that language can fall through the cracks. We had no idea.
And I haven't heard anyone else with that either. I haven't heard Katie Woo. I haven't heard Gould. I haven't heard anyone with that. And I think that's important. And I think that's why we've been saving it and wanting to, we didn't want to talk about the season, to go backwards and talk about the season and how it ended. I don't know if people want us to be, I'm the type of person, I don't know, I think you guys are the same way, but I'm the type of person, when it goes wrong, I turn it off and I don't listen to any radio. I don't listen. I don't take it in. I don't read the stories. I shut it off and I leave it alone, Cardinals related, for a bit.
That's what I did for 2 weeks.
And so the question is, if people want us to come on here and bitch and moan about what just happened, maybe that's better podcast. I don't know. Maybe
read my text to Ryan, and that can just fill in for that on screenshots.
Right. Like, I mean, maybe that would have been better to watch and listen to is us melt down, but it's hyperbole, right?
It's reacting in the moment.
Yeah, it's
emotional response.
Absolutely. And I'm trying not to be that ever, right? I try to make sense. And that's what I'm talking about with Nolan Arenado and why he should opt out and why the Cardinals shouldn't re-sign him is because it would make sense. Because the Cardinals need to depend on more than 2 guys for a lineup. That's why it makes sense.
Kyle, if Nolan opted out, do you really think that DeWitt would take that money and spend it on 3 fairly big name free agents? Or would he just say, all right, thanks, we'll just roll Jordan Walker out here?
I think that people would be pissed, and then he would have to do something big, right?
I don't know.
I don't
We've
think
thought
he's
that
gonna,
before, though.
Is he going? We hear this every single year that we're going to go out, we're going to go make the team better. We're going to increase payroll, right? Are we increasing payroll because our new hitting coach is going to demand more money? Are we increasing payroll to make the team better? I'm not sure that over the last several years we've really committed to that. Yeah, the Nolan Arenado deal is a good deal for the Cardinals. It's getting a premier player, getting Paul Goldschmidt a premier player. But the question is, are we going to take the steps necessary to get to the level that we know that we're not at? You going into this season, you knew the Cardinals were not at the level to be a World Series contender. They won the weakest division in Major League Baseball, and it showed. I mean, obviously, at this point, go Phillies. At this point, go win the whole thing. At least we lose to the winners of the whole thing. But nonetheless, we lost to a team that was a wild card team, and that's as far as we got. That's not good enough. And maybe now that we've done that, they're going to invest that money back. But time will tell, and they're going to have to, as Ryan was alluding to. If Arenado takes the stance, show me that you're going to do that. I'm right there with you, thinking, show me, please, prove it to me that you're going to spend the money that you say you're going to.
Yeah,
I want Nolan Arenado on the team for the next 5 or 6 years. I think most of us, for the most part, would be in agreement on that.
I think if you ask the masses, yes,
Yeah.
that's what.
I think you're better with him and Walker.
Look, you want me to piss some more people off?
Look,
I don't think Nolan Arenado is a winner. I don't think that Nolan Arenado.
But what about Goldschmidt?
I don't think he is either. That's why we lost.
They literally haven't yet.
They haven't. Yeah. They literally have not won anything. This NL Central this year was the first thing those 2 dudes have ever won ever, right?
Goldie had a Central title with us in 2019.
Okay, sorry. Goldie was on that team.
Yeah,
yes.
But Nolan's first taste of that.
His first time ever. They haven't won anything. They can't lead a team. This year was the year to have veteran guys with leadership to get it to the next level, to remind them, because look, it's been 11 years since the St. Louis Cardinals won a World Series. 11 years. And the guys that are left over from that now is Adam Wainwright.
Yeah.
That's it. This past year was the year to get those guys, Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, and Adam Wainwright, to carry in, to usher in the new with the young guys so they can get a taste and understand what leadership and winning looks like, right? The Cardinal way, as we want to talk about it, hasn't been the Cardinal way since probably 2014, right? Like, that's what we're really talking about. So those 2 dudes, they haven't won anything. People probably won't like that and probably don't want to hear that, but you can't really say that they have. They are good players, but they can't lead anything. I don't think people look to them. They're both. Goldie is obviously very quiet, and Arenado is fiery, but he's not like, I don't think he's a rah-rah guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they don't look at those guys for rah-rah moments, to be the leaders in the clubhouse like that. So this was the year to get some of that to carry over to these young guys and these other guys. So what happens now is needs to come out and get winners. Even if we don't like to say it, Wilson Contreras has won a World Series and was on a winning.
And he's had big hits in the postseason.
And so that makes sense to me. I hate the Cubs. I don't ever want any Cub ever, if you were on the Cubs team, not to be on the St. Louis Cardinals. And any Cardinal that goes to the Cubs, it's like, I don't root for you anymore either. But I would take Wilson Contreras because he has proven that he can win. And that's what the Cardinals need.
Or another name that's come up today, and again, we can kind of stream this into the conversation of Seth asking us if we think the Cardinals will make any big moves, but I tweeted you or texted you earlier. I saw a tweet, an article, a name that I hadn't even thought of was Salvador Perez.
Yeah, I saw that today for
That's
the first time.
It's another winner. It's another World Series
He
winner.
has one.
And he hits bombs.
Look, I broke stuff. Look, I was fidgeting and I broke things. That's like I knew I was going to rant tonight because I haven't had any. I mean, it's been 3 weeks, I think, since.
Yeah.
And look, if it means the St. Louis Cardinals win a World Series in the next 3 years, then I am willing to burn it all down right now and get rid of losers and bring in winners and people that want to win and want to play with the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, when people talk about that, the Cardinals. People don't want to come to the Cardinals. We get them via trade and not big signings. And I think Trey Turner, I don't think that the Cardinals are in it for any shortstop because of Mason Wynn. Because Mo said again in this press conference today that it's all about the pipeline. We're a pipeline-driven organization. He said that, reiterated that again today, that Mason Wynn is the next guy.
But he said, we heard this 4 years ago with Paul DeJong and Colton Wong. And they were good, especially Wong. Wong turned out to be, I think, a pretty good player, better than what a lot of us thought after the 2013 debacle with the base running getting picked off. But they said that when DeJong was coming up, and they gave him the extension. They've said it with Wong, and these guys come and go. So for me, Derek Gould did a Q&A in one of his chats the other day, and he said, "Why would you not go after Trey Turner, especially Trey Turner?" A guy that play second base.
I don't think Trey Turner's
shortstop.
interested.
No, but I'm just saying he was saying, why would you not go after him? A guy that can play multiple positions. And so what if you've got Mason Wynn coming in a year or two? Because most of the time shortstops are your most athletic player.
Right.
So you go get the best player and figure it out when Wynn's ready to come up.
I don't disagree that we should go after him, but they won't.
No, they won't.
But I think
they could Carlos Correa or they could Dansby Swanson if they really wanted.
Trey Turner goes to the East Coast, I believe. Based on everything that I've read and gotten into, is that he wants to be an East Coast guy. That's like where that's where he's going to play.
So what was Seattle?
Even
East
Coast.
I'm terrible geographically.
Are you serious? East and West?
Washington, so he can go back to the Nationals?
Okay, that is an East Coast team at least. That is East. Yes. No, people think that the Orioles are going to spend big money this offseason.
No, that would be interesting.
People think that he could fit in different places, but he wants to be on the East Coast. He's an East Coast guy.
Right.
He doesn't like L.A. He doesn't like to be out there. They think he will not be in the Midwest. They think he'll be East Coast. So that would be New York and Boston and places of anywhere down that whole coast would be the East.
Maybe he goes to New York after Judge leaves.
Also East.
Turner? To play what position?
Center field or right field, I guess, since
Trey
they got Bader
Turner?
out there. He plays. That's what I was talking about with Turner's versatility. He can play outfield, second, and short.
Well, you're gonna
all
sign,
pretty well.
You're going to sign him to $40 million a year to play outfield when he's
I'm
the best?
talking about the Yankees specifically. If Judge leaves, they got to do something. They got to put
that's
that
true.
money somewhere. Their fans are going to lose it.
That's true, and I don't know what's going to happen there. To be honest, I don't know what. I don't know. Like, does he want to leave? Does he want to stay? Like, what's gonna happen? I mean, I'd be perfectly fine to see Aaron Judge in St. Louis. I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
He hasn't won anything either. He's 30 years old
Here's the
now.
problem on these big free agents this year, and them finally saying that we're going to increase payroll. And Kyle, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. My thing is, like we just said, we never do this in free agency. We never spend big on that player. Watch us go spend big finally and get a guy like Aaron Judge or get a guy like Jacob deGrom, and then they're injured. Because
Absolutely.
look, that's their track record. None of those guys stay healthy for a full season.
But
we should have done this 3 or 4 years ago when it was Bryce Harper and when it was Max Scherzer and when it was guys that were great and superstars then. And hindsight, obviously they've panned out, but I think
it's putting money in the wrong place.
Yes,
like
Dexter Fowler for 18 million or whatever.
No one ever thought Dexter Fowler was going to be the superstar.
No.
It's because they wanted to spend the next tier, not the top tier.
Right.
But if the Cardinals sign Albert Pujols to a $300 million deal, he doesn't get the same send-off, I don't think, that he did this year.
Probably not.
Kyle?
Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about Cardinal priorities. Because maybe for the first time in a long time, there are a lot of holes that need filled. Obviously, a Hall of Fame catcher is departed. You could make an argument that we've got an issue for a DH. Certainly, Paul DeJong is not going to hopefully be our opening day shortstop again. And then pitching. We can't keep pitchers healthy, and arguably one of our best pitchers of the entire season is going to be 75 years old in his final year as a Cardinal. So, we've got needs, and yeah, you're going to have to increase payroll, but I mean, obviously catching is what Mo said today was the main priority. Sorry, Andrew Kisner, see you later. But what is where is all this going to fall? Where is the money going to go? Because we've got a lot of spots now to fill all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, thank God Mo at least said that with catcher today. Like, yes, we are going outside of the organization to get a catcher. And for me, I think catcher, if we want to talk about that for a second, I think it's going to be one of those three guys. I think it's going to be either Contreras in free agency, since, I mean, Quintana's talked to him. There's been a lot of connection there. He's friends with Yachty. I think it's either going to be him, Salvador Perez, or Sean Murphy. Now, if they want to go the route the Cardinals seem to go and trading for, this would be a really different route, honestly, with Murphy, because he's arbitration eligible the next 3 seasons. So he's not even a free agent until 2026. So he's going to take quite a bit more to get in terms of a package. Now, Salvador Perez is a free agent in 2027, but he's got a club option in 2026. So if you go trade for him right now, you're getting him for 2023, 2024, and 2025 at $20 million, and then he would get $22 million in 2025, which is probably about the same as what you're going to have to pay Willson Contreras if you go get him on a 4 or 5 year deal. I assume he's going to want at least somewhere between 20 and 24 million a year. You go trade for Sean Murphy, it's going to take a lot more prospects, but you've got a guy for 3 or 4 years that you're paying pennies on the dollar because he's arbitration eligible. So I honestly, I would be fine with either 3 of those guys at catcher. I would lean more towards an offensive one. I know Murphy had a good year this year, but I would lean more towards Perez or maybe Willson Contreras, just because they've shown that 20, 25 home run pop. I mean, Perez has hit 30, 40 several times.
I really like Sean Murphy. I just don't know the cost. I don't know what it's going to cost. And
well, based on what they were trading Frankie Montas for, they're going to ask the world, I'm sure.
Yes, they're going to ask the world, but what will it cost? What will be the actual thing? I think that people keep throwing Nolan Gorman out in every trade scenario there is. I don't think the Cardinals are going to get rid of Nolan Gorman.
Listen, if they didn't trade him in Carlson for Soto, they're not trading them for anybody. I think a name you're going to see out more is maybe Juan Yepes.
Yeah.
Or maybe Alec Burleson.
Nootbaar.
Or maybe Lars Nootbaar.
Absolutely.
Because you've got a surplus of those guys.
Like, Nolan Gorman hit 30 home runs between the majors and the AAA last year. That's what he profiles to do, and they expect him to do. And that would be huge for the St. Louis Cardinals to be able to add as an everyday second baseman, DH, or whatever that he's going to end up being. And I think that's what they're planning to be able to use him to do. Obviously, he can slump and have issues, but I think that's what they would rather go down with Nolan Gorman than to trade him and then watch another guy become a really good player somewhere else. And so Sean Murphy, I really like. I looked all his defensive metrics. He's one of the best defensive catchers in the league, but he's also one of the better hitters. There's not a lot of good hitting catchers out there, but he's one of the better hitting catchers and a great defensive catcher.
Yeah.
I think he's in the Gold Glove again this year.
Yeah,
the
he'll probably win it.
He'll probably win it. Like, I just don't know the cost. If it's Nolan Gorman, it's not going to happen. If it's Gordon Graceffo, sure. Like, if it's, some other prospects and in a throw-in guy, I'm fine with it. But I would prefer, I can't believe I would say this, I would prefer, and I think even Dan Dockett said on our show, it would make most sense for Willson Contreras to come and be on the St. Louis Cardinals. Like, he deserves that, is what I think even Dockett said. He deserves to be on the Cardinals for the kind of player and person that he is. He fits. And I don't think it's going to be really, really expensive. And I think he wants to be a Cardinal, from everything I've heard too. So why not take the easy one? Like, we might need trades for other things. If Murphy's cheap, sure. Like, if it doesn't take too much, but I think it's just going to be too much to make sense. And you have available free agents. I hate when we go and make a trade when we can go and sign someone that costs you no extra pieces. So why not go and get Willson Contreras? I know other people have mentioned like Maldonado and
those guys are like AJ Przinsky for me. They're not bad. They're good.
Right.
They're good clubhouse guys. They can be fine, but they can't be your number one.
Vasquez, the guy from the Boston that went to Houston, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
Christian. Yeah.
Those Tucker Barnhart from Brownsburg, Indiana,
Yeah.
is on the Tigers. Was the Reds. Like those are the names that we're talking about. It's either Contreras, Murphy, Perez, and then the other guys.
I think so. I'm curious.
Sorry, why is Kisner and Herrera not better than those other guys?
So, well, this is what I was going to say. I think this decision is going to be predicated on how you view Ivan Herrera. That's how I think this decision is going to be made. And if you don't think he's your future catcher, then you need to go sign Wilson Contreras to a 5 or 6 year deal. You need to, and trade Contreras in a package deal for maybe a pitcher or maybe an outfielder or something, and use him and Yepes or whoever else. If you still think that he can be the guy, then I think the move is to trade for Salvador Perez and have him for the next 2 or 3 years as the stopgap to that, as one more stopgap to Yachty. So you let maybe Herrera have a couple more years in AAA and see how he does, and then you can move on from there. But if he doesn't wind up being the guy and you do that, then you're out of a catcher again in 2 or 3 years. So it's an interesting. But Perez is a guy too who's had 5 Gold Gloves.
And Perez can DH at times too.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like you can still get Herrera if that's who you think is the next man up. The at bats to figure that out. He only got like 20 some odd at bats in 2022. It wasn't many. So like people are like now not very high on Herrera because he took 20 at bats is like I'm like that's small sample size. And Mozeliak again said today in his presser, I'm still bullish, exact quote, on Ivan Herrera.
Oh.
So like
there you go.
He's still on Herrera. So I still think that Contreras can sign a 3-year deal though. I really do.
I don't think he's going to sign less for 4 or 5.
Who's going to sign him?
Mainly because of his age.
But who's going to sign him? That's my only thought. Is like, what's the market?
It only takes one. It only takes one, though, right?
We thought that with Baez. Look what he got at the Tigers.
Yeah, and they're regretting that one. I mean,
the same with the Rangers with the 2 guys they signed.
Yeah, well, they think they're going to compete next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look around the depth chart for just a second. So you look at obviously we have a huge hole at the catcher spot, which we're talking about. Assuming Goldschmidt obviously locked in at first, Tommy Edmonds locked into a middle infield position. We're going to ban Ryan for just a moment from speaking and say Nolan Arenado's locked in one way or another at third base. Then you look at the outfield. So you got the likes of Tyler O'Neill. Is he going to be back? Is Dylan Carlson going to return to form? Lars Nootbaar, is that your outfield? Are we happy with that? And then Brendan Donovan. I mean, where do you throw him in? Is he starting? Is he an everyday player? Is Lars Nootbaar an everyday player? So I think there's a lot of questions there all across the board for the Cardinals. Obviously, it starts at the catcher's position, but so many different questions that I think we're going to need an answer to. And uncharacteristically of the Cardinals in years past, not only do we need an answer, but we also need a backup plan. What happens if this doesn't work? Then what are we doing?
I mean, would you be shocked to see pretty much the exact same team rolled out next year?
It's the Cardinals. Absolutely not. I wouldn't be surprised. We've done it for decades.
Exactly right. So I think that every single year, everyone gets hyped up. Josh last year, I can't think of the name on Twitter. Ryan Scholl always goes out.
Eternal optimist, yes.
Like, oh, we're going to get all these guys, and it's not going to happen. The Cardinals are not signing Trey Turner.
We don't even get one of those guys.
Yeah, right. So to think we're going to get multiple, right? So I think we're going to get a catcher, right? Mo said, I mean, like, look, Mo doesn't really like lock himself into positions very often.
He's not usually this transparent.
He said 2 things. And, I thought he was a lot more transparent starting at Blogger Day.
Yep.
That I've never seen him so candid. Like I don't give an F anymore. Like, I don't know, like, if he's on his way out. Like, I don't know, like, if he's like, F it. I'm going to just tell you what I feel.
If he's on his way out and starts signing all these
like he's going to retire in a couple of years. Like, I don't understand. Like, he was just, like, very, like, just different, candid. He said, payroll will go up. Someone asked him another question. I couldn't hear who it was. And he said, it's a fact. Payroll will go up. He said that twice. Okay. And then he also said, we will sign a catcher from somewhere else, not internally.
Yeah.
So
the payroll going up could just come from the catcher, and that's it.
I don't think that's still enough.
No, I don't either.
But
that would like suffice his.
Would it go up though from there? I don't think so.
Depends on what you give.
Yachty, we still paid how much last year?
I have to look that up. I don't know.
Like, you know what I mean?
My head.
Albert Pujols only got like a couple million, right?
We paid Yachty 10, I believe.
10.
I saw that. Yeah.
So we paid Yachty 10.
Yeah, 10. Albert got, what did Pools
It
get?
was only like $2.5 million or something. It was not much. It was pretty low.
2.5.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That's the greatest free agent signing in the history of baseball.
Wainwright was
17.
17.5.
Yeah.
God, do we think we're going to give him that much again?
Yeah, I hope not. But
Hopefully it's like maybe 14 or 15 with escalators in it.
Right. Like, yeah, like give him motivation.
So, yeah, a
If
catcher
you win
with
20 games, we'll give you an extra $5 million. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, give him some big
so
tangible
let's
thing.
say it's 2 or 3 less million on Waino. You got the 2.5 on Albert. That's 5, 6.
20, 10
Yachty's
million for-
10, 50. I mean,
That's 30 million, right? A year ish.
Contreras, I think, is going to get somewhere between 20 and 25 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. That would be break even. That would be same payroll.
Yeah.
So whenever,
So you need to go sign another pitcher.
so-
But I don't think we're going to do that either, honestly.
when John Mozeliak says the payroll is going up, do you believe that means $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, or do you think it means 10 to 20, 30 million? Like, how do you interpret that from John Mozeliak? I'll let either of you go first.
Well, you heard I didn't get to hear
yeah.
the press conference today. You said he was pretty emphatic of like it's going to go
He
up.
said it's a fact. It's
Yeah.
going up. Literally, he said it's a fact.
My hope as a fan with him saying that emphatically, that it would be much more than an incremental. Oh, we're 5 million above
So you
last.
think like an extra player, 20 million, like a big player, like an extra 20 million.
That would be great. That means you've gone and gotten a catcher.
What did
and
we
then,
end up? Was 168 last year? I think.
Yeah, it may
168.
be 170.
So to be 188, 190 is what I thought they should have been in 2022,
Oh yeah.
right? Oh, I will say this: you didn't see the Waino presser today either, right? Did you see?
Oh
that?
no. But I saw some of his comments about saying this is his last season. and
He
just-
said, "Is John Mozeliak still on this call?" They said no, and he goes. They asked why is Philadelphia winning? That's what he said. And he says, "Is John Mozeliak still on this call?" And they're like, "No." Kyle Schwarber is batting leadoff for them, and he's not batting. And he's not batting leadoff for us.
Waino wanted Kyle Schwarber.
That's my point.
Do you
That's
remember
what he
his
said.
comments last season?
But
of
that's
like,
what he said. They asked why did they win?
I wanted Kyle
And
Schwarber.
Kyle-
I didn't want freaking Corey Dickerson.
I didn't want a 220 lifetime hitter personally, but my point is,
led the
Adam
NL in
Wainwright-
home runs this year.
Adam Wainwright, and he also led in strikeouts. Adam Wainwright said that on a Zoom call with the media today.
But you know why Adam said that too? Do you know what Kyle Schwarber has that we've talked about with Wilson Contreras?
He won.
He's a winner.
He's
got
won.
postseason bombs
He does.
galore. And again, we need that from Nolan and Goldie. And I do think they can do it. I do think we can win with them. But the biggest reason I think you asked me, like, well, why didn't the Cardinals make it further? Why did the Phillies make it all the way there? Why did the Astros make it all the way there? Both those teams, especially the Astros, have way more than 2 sluggers to carry their offense. Way more. At least 3 or 4. The Phillies got 4 or 5. The Astros, I mean, there's hardly a hole in that lineup, and they've just drafted and developed, as really well. But I
And
tell you,
banged
man,
on
I mean,
trash cans.
what was that?
and bang on
And
trash.
banged on trash cans.
Yeah. Well,
and buzzers. Look, if we want to get into that,
this is 6 years in a row now, man. We've talked about this. So, like, what are their
Trash
pitchers
cans
doing?
have been trash
But
cans.
what are their
have been around
pitchers
a
doing to
long
shut down
time.
these offenses? What are their pitchers doing to shut down these offenses? Nobody's talking to me about that. They're
Well,
undefeated
they
this
just
postseason.
automated buzzers for pitchers this year. They made
No.
it legal, right? Yeah.
Look,
no, I'm kidding.
Josh and I have texted about this. I think that anything that those group of players have done since 2017 are null and void to me. And
I disagree
And I
on
think
that.
there's a lot of people that agree with that. And if you go on Twitter and Facebook, and people, like I'm in a ballpark chasers group. We've been to Kyle and I have been to 20 some odd parks, and Josh and I've been to one together. Well, one
Yeah.
outside of the Cardinals one. And that ballpark chasers group, people talk about, the Astros, and everyone just clowns them. All the fans be like, we don't respect anything that you've done since 2017 because a lot of those guys are still left. So like they're not getting the respect because they don't know what's real. Buzzers and the Astros got nothing done to them. Nothing. The organization
But was
got a
that the
little bit.
players' fault or was that the commissioner's
That
fault?
is the
that they got?
commissioner's fault.
Yeah.
But why would the players not do something again? Because they won, they got paid, and there was no repercussions.
I think things are being watched way more closely for that to happen again.
Right.
Personally,
But
after
the
that,
point-
because
my question
Rob,
though, why not continue to do anything? You got nothing taken from you. You got paid more because you won, and you won World Series. Why
I
would you
think
not?
The one thing that I would add is, for the next 10 years, the Astros are going to be known as the trash can team. I mean, they have soiled the team, and
Yes.
I've got to believe if you ever think a World Series is fixed, I think it's gone. Major League Baseball does not want the Astros to win the World Series. It looks bad. It's going to look bad. I don't care if they're good players or not. If the Astros win the World Series, it's bad for baseball. It's just bad.
And that's
for
why I'm
baseball.
saying you can't cry conspiracy theory anymore with this. I think that if it was actually happening, they'd be cracking down extremely hard on it. Look, at the end of the day, this is 6 years in a row now that they've made it.
But that
this
to
far.
me, says that's why they still are doing something.
George Springer is
That's-
gone. Garrett Cole is gone.
Yeah, Altuve, the
Carlos
buzzer boy.
Correa is
Buzzer
gone.
boy, I'm shy. I don't want to take off my shirt because he has a buzzer run up his shirt.
Altuve got his first hit 3 nights ago.
Altuve hit a curveball off Aroldis Chapman after throwing 103 and walk-off home
But
run.
you're talking about
because
we're
he
talking about right now,
yeah,
though.
But the point is, why have they been successful?
Because
Bregman is
they're
still on that
well
team.
run, man.
Here-
They're
here's
a
my only-
well-run organization that drafts well and develops well, especially their pitching.
To me, it says that
They have
they're
seen
the only team that didn't have troubles after resting for days.
yeah,
They're the only
The last thing that
and
I
that to
will
me just
say-
says they're just
one.
good.
That to me says there's something fishy going on where
Wow.
all the other guys rested.
They've lost
Go to your
Garrett Cole.
corners.
They've
Go to your
lost Zach
corners.
Greinke. They've lost tons of big pitchers over the year and just filled them right in. We'll go get Justin Verlander. We'll
Sure,
develop
because they know the hitters are going to hit because they know what the hell's coming.
No,
now, the
they
pitcher,
don't anymore. I don't think they do. I don't think they have the last 3 since that happened because of what Kyle said. I don't think MLB wants them to win
MLB
the whole
doesn't,
thing.
but
And if
there's
they
no
don't, then they have to be
repercussions.
cracking down on
There's
this.
no repercussions.
The
Tell
repercussions.
me what
that-
happened to Jose Altuve. Tell me
No-
what happened
nothing-
to
look,
Alec Bregman.
You're right on the repercussions, but I
There's
think
nothing.
what
So what
reverberated
stops them?
what reverberated around baseball because the stuff came out with the Red Sox doing the same kind of things too. Remember? They were
Yes.
all at the same time. What reverberated is no more of these iPad stuff, no more the camera stuff. Like all those things that they were using to do that are wiped out now. They don't have that to do it.
The
and so-
camera-wise, yes. But
Like all that stuff.
But
And
here's the whole other buzzer part of it that's completely
Listen.
separate that they didn't even really investigate.
I don't know, man.
Kyle,
Six,
go ahead.
for me, 6
Here's
years
my
in a
argument.
row that's a lot.
Here's my argument for Houston. Okay, the thing that I don't like about the trash can thing, and I'm probably in Josh's corner here in thinking that they're probably just good players at this point. But the problem is they did it for who knows how long. They experienced success. They found out what it feels like to win, and when you win like they did, fair or not fair, when you win, winning breeds winning. And so
Absolutely.
I think that's the thing that's frustrating for me is why not say, Houston, because of what you did, you're banned from the postseason for the next whatever years or something along those lines because all they did was feast on the winning that they got because it was illegal.
Right.
That's
If it
my
was any
argument.
other sport or college, that's exactly what would have happened. The players would have been held accountable, not the organization. You know what I mean? Like, unless the organization was the one who was all into it. But I'm gonna pull up this comment from Mitchell.
There we go, Mitchell.
Get over yourself. I don't even know what that means. Like what get over myself of
Your hate for them. Look, everybody.
But what does that even mean to get over myself?
The Astros for the last 6
I'm
years.
asking what that means.
Look, the Astros for the last 6 years.
I can read the rest of the
I
thing.
mean,
been
shut
the
up
new-
about it.
They've been the New England Patriots of baseball to a degree. Now
we
they
want to talk about Deflategate. I mean, is that where you want to
yes,
get into this?
but
Spygate.
but guess
Cheaters
what?
cheat and cheaters win.
Tom Brady has left and won another championship with a different team. At the end of the day, some guys might just be good. I would kill to have Yordan freaking Alvarez on our team, man. I would kill to have that guy on our team.
I agree. That's a big part of it. Is sometimes players just win. Because I had this conversation, completely off topic, kind of, but Bruce Bochy hired as the Texas manager.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Bruce Bochy is a career under 500 manager, and people are like, yeah, but he won 3 World Series. Sometimes it's about players just being good.
Sometimes you get the right players.
Sometimes you just have good players. I just don't think that's the case the whole way. And I here's the thing. It's just the Astros are tainted no matter what. To me, until those group of guys, Altuve, Bregman, like that era of guys are still involved with the club, then that still has a stain on it
So
forever.
Altuve being 2 for 27 or whatever he is this postseason doesn't steal your thoughts of something still got to be going on.
Well, the point is, I think even 20 years from now, or whenever he retires, and he's had some of the most home runs. And
I'm not arguing with you about 17.
No, but-
that was the year they won,
I'm
right?
saying
I
it's
think
gonna
that
stick with-
think that title should have been stripped.
But
Is
if-
what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But my point is, if Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds and all those guys don't make the World Series, the Hall of Fame because of steroids, there's no chance any of those guys should be involved either.
Well, that's a whole different
this to
conversation. I
me-
might agree with you
This
there on
to
the
me
Hall of
is
Fame thing.
way worse than any steroid use because
It's different when you know what's coming.
It's different when you know what's coming versus something that helps you hit it a little harder.
Right.
To me, that's the difference. Is that literally, if you tell me there's a curveball coming every time, I'm going to get a chance to get a good swing on that versus me having to still hit a fastball and curveball and different things and still hit it really hard.
Well, look,
I'm gonna let Mitchell get off the screen.
we've brought up a few things, saying, well, let's fire up Cardinals fans.
Yo,
So like
what
you're
do
going on. I just thought of
Your
this.
turn?
I just thought of this. And something that we haven't talked about a whole lot. Who was one of the main masterminds in their whole system when they got this going and actually took it over to the Yankees for a little bit too? Do you remember? Carlos Beltran.
Beltran, yeah.
Our offense in 2013 was the best offense in baseball. Who do we have on our team in 2013?
Carlos Beltran.
How do we not know that Carlos Beltran, wasn't already figured out a system then?
Not only that, why has Carlos Beltran been blackballed? Is he the only one to be blackballed?
It's absurd.
Why is he the only one that doesn't have a job?
Yeah, that is absurd.
Do we also
But
bring
I-
up the fact that our former assistant GM became the Astros GM, and we got caught trying to hack in to see what he had in his system and what he knew?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
let's
Yep.
not go there. Yikes!
What if Beltran started figuring
You
this
know-
system out in 2013?
It's possible.
Everyone listening right now is like,
He-
"Oh my God, shut up!"
It is possible. Mitchell's coming for you next, I'm sure.
Get over yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Look,
yeah,
I love Beltran.
Get over yourself. I don't even know what that means, really, but get over yourself. It's possible. Look, I will tell you this: if that is the case, I am perfect. I will be the same against the St. Louis Cardinals in 2013 team that I would be against anyone that played for the Astros in 2017 going forward. I would be the same way. This is not a bias based on it not being the Cardinals. I would still treat them the exact same way. I have a different feeling in the steroid era for different reasons. Like, I mean, that may be a whole episode by itself.
Yeah.
But to HGH wasn't against baseball rules is one part of it. And also that chase saved baseball after, like, people are too young, and I myself am too young to even know that in '94, being with the lockout, of how bad baseball was in 1997, and how no one was watching, and what it did for baseball. Like, that's a completely different conversation, and why I think it's so important that, but to let it keep on going on, and Barry Bonds continuing to still do it and still be connected to all these things throughout, and then still being let to play and hit home runs and break like historic all-time records that probably will never get touched again is like hurtful
Right.
for the game, like that part of it too. But we can move on to something else.
One last thing. This is not related to trash can hitting, but it's related to bad looks in baseball. So I couldn't believe that I read this myself. What was it, a couple of weeks ago? I think this will be the fifth, if my research was correct, the fifth one of these in Major League Baseball. They are adding a sports book inside Great American
Reds.
Ballpark in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you kidding me? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? The one stadium on planet Earth not to put gambling inside the stadium is Cincinnati, but here you go. Talking about hitting trash cans, what Pete Rose did doesn't quite seem ban worthy for life like
No.
it maybe once did, and now his home stadium is putting a gambling facility inside
Bad
the
look.
ballpark. Wow.
Very bad look.
Yeah, I have really mixed things on Pete Rose as well. Like, I really do.
He
Like,
should be in the Hall of Fame. I just take the numbers. And I've said this with the steroid guys. I hate Barry Bonds. I don't like Barry Bonds, but he hit 700 whatever home runs. And I know he was on roids, but put an asterisk by it. Then.
I think if you let one in, you got to let them all in and
Yes.
make their own wing, because it was history of baseball. So if you let one in, like let's say Barry Bonds gets in because they think that he needs to, then Mark McGwire and Sammy
Well, if
Sosa,
your numbers-
Rafael
your
Palmeiro,
numbers-
like those
yeah.
guys that were in that era, Alex Rodriguez, like those guys are Hall of Fame players based on their numbers. But if you're tied to it, you're gonna go into this section and like this, we're gonna tell the story. Like in 100 years from now,
Put the syringe emoji by their plaques.
like we're these guys were possible, or known connected to
Right.
these things. Like I think that it's important for baseball. Pete Rose and betting on baseball, like I kind of the guy in the NFL, I can't think of his name all of a sudden. Sorry, it slipped my mind. Played for the Falcons. He bet $1,500 on not his team when he was injured, a different team, and he was kicked out of the league for a year. And then there's guys doing
That doesn't make sense to me.
And then there's guys doing crazier things this year that aren't getting suspended at all. Like Devontae Adams pushing over a camera guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't get suspended. But this guy bet $1,500 on a different team, and he was injured and wasn't playing.
He had no factor in the game.
Yeah, and he gets banned for an entire year.
Was Pete Rose? He was betting on his own games. Was he betting on his own games?
I know that
or is there speculation?
I think yes. I think that he bet on them to win only. He never bet against them,
See,
which I think changes
I have
that
no
too.
problem with that.
I mean, you're not supposed to do it. I get it. I think at some point you got to let him in, though. Like it's
Well, his numbers are his numbers, and that's
Right.
The same with the steroid guys because we've talked about even with steroids, how many
how
countless
does-
players
how
took
does him
steroids and didn't
betting
have the numbers.
change his numbers.
Exactly. Well, especially if he's betting to win. If anything, he's just going to play harder.
He's betting on himself.
Yeah.
It's Aaron Judge in a different way, right? Aaron Judge is betting on himself in 2022 to get a big contract. Pete Rose is
Yeah.
betting on himself to win a little more money too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like that how he plays it up and he writes signs. Sorry, I bet on baseball. Like I just don't like that. And he's a weird dude and he's over the top.
Right.
And I think
Aaron
that
Judge is
I
betting on
think
himself
that
in
I think that
2022.
hurts him.
Get a big contract. Pete Rose
Yeah.
is betting on himself to win a little more money too.
Is that your? Is that
I don't
you,
like how he
Kyle?
plays it up And he writes signs. Sorry, I bet on baseball.
We
Like,
got
I
a
just
little
don't like
echo coming.
that. And he's a weird dude. And
I just muted Kyle. I think that's coming from Kyle.
Yeah, I got it.
I just
Sorry.
muted. I just muted you coming back through. I think Kyle. I'm gonna turn it back on and see if it works. You there?
My fault. I opened up
Okay.
something and then
Got it. It
We're
was
good.
like, boom. Whoa,
the
that
old
was,
guy screwed
We're-
up the podcast. Yeah.
We were in a cave for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, whoa, that's me. Oh, okay. All right, let's.
I now know
let's
how to get your attention, though.
yeah,
I'm
no,
scared.
you know how to get us to stop talking. Yeah, people stopped listening that when we started going.
Well,
on
look,
the Astros.
let's switch over to. We haven't speculated a little bit.
I was looking at my
on-
list of points, but go ahead if you can think of that.
Well, I
list
would
of
just
points.
say, I mean, what we want, what we think on hitting and pitching coach, because I think Mike Maddox was a little bit of a surprise.
Let's talk about that.
We
Let's
didn't
talk
expect that to happen. A lot of people, of course, have been throwing out pretty much just former Cardinal players that they like, that they think would be good coaches. I have no idea who it's going to be. I really do think hitting coach. I think they've gone down
And bench
this.
coach.
Yes, bench coach too. But hitting coach, I think they've gone down this road long enough now with a guy like Jeff Albert that I think they do have to go out and get a former major league hitter that can help guys get through those slumps and all those things that we were talking about. And maybe you have a guy as the bench coach or the assistant hitting coach or whatever that has that analytics side of it that can plug that in for the younger guys, whoever wants that as well. But I think you need to go hitting coach. I think you need to get a previous player
So-
that can navigate people through that.
I am perfectly fine with that. Look, I am historically a detractor of Matt Holliday in his time in St. Louis. Kyle as well. But I think that he would be a great hitting coach. Do I think that he is willing and able now? I don't think so. But if he wants to be in this organization and he wants to do it and be a manager at the big league level at some point, I think his opportunities. He's had a lot of opportunities as of late to join in, to be a bench coach, to be a hitting coach. Now 2 years in a row. I think that he might need to take the opportunity that it comes to him. Right. His obviously Jackson was drafted and he plays in the MLB in the minor leagues now. His other son is 15, 16 years old, bigger, stronger, even better than Jackson is what the thing is. And he says he doesn't really want to join a big league team on a staff until that son makes it through and through high school. So, like, my question is, will Matt Holliday continue to get an opportunity in the future? Like, what happens if it solidifies and the Cardinals start winning again? You know what I mean? Like, if they go on a good run, like, the opportunity may not be there for 10 years. Is that weird to think, or, to say?
Well, let me say, I like you and I always argued about Matt Holliday's clutch ability, and that was our biggest strike against Matt Holliday. Was he was brought in to be the guy, and then never really was that guy. Now, I would tell you that I have softened my stance on Matt Holliday now that he's no longer a active player on the roster. I think he's been a great asset as a member of the Cardinals Hall of Fame, and I hope he's around the organization for a long time to come. And maybe that's the role. I think that would be awesome to see.
And I will also say, I have liked Matt Holliday way more as a non-player than I have as a player. When I listen to him on the radio, I enjoy him. I enjoy
Very
listening.
likable.
Yes, I enjoy his takes. I enjoy his hitting philosophy. Listening to him talk about
Enjoy
hitting.
him recruiting Nolan Arenado for us.
Absolutely. And I think about, like, what he said, like what he did for Matt Carpenter. Matt Carpenter went to Matt Holliday last summer when he thought his career was over and got on track. Like, if you can take a guy that was out of Major League Baseball and get him to be resurgence to be, a great hit. I mean, I don't even know, like, what do you want to compare?
That's a pretty good resume builder.
Yeah, like, I'm all for it. I don't think that he wants to do it right this second, but I don't know that the opportunity comes again so quickly.
Right.
So I could see it, and I think that they're going to have a conversation with him. I just don't know what's going to happen. Jim Edmonds. Now, that question as well. I think people would prefer Jim Edmonds in the dugout than they would on the television at most times.
Yeah.
And there's people that really like Jim Edmonds on TV, and I don't dislike him on TV. I like Brad Thompson considerably more with Dan, but I don't know. I think that Jim Edmonds helps guys hit as well, and Jim Edmonds was a great hitter as well. So is that who makes sense as the hitting coach, like one of those types of guys, or somebody else? Is it going to be Turner Ward? Like, do they just move up Turner Ward from his position?
We've seen them promote from within several times, and on bench coach, it's not going to surprise me in the least bit if that winds up being Stubby Clapp, and I'd be fine with that. I mean, he's a guy I've read talked about for that role because he's kind of, right under that role now and is, steadily moved up. But bench coach is one of those. I'm like, I don't know that that's one of those. I mean, I loved having Skip this year, but it's more of a kind of game planning.
Right.
Yeah, you're in connection with the manager. Obviously, you fill in if he gets tossed out of the game, or sick or whatever else. So I'm not as worried about bench coach. I'm just really interested to see what they do with hitting coach. And pitching coach, honestly, who they go get there. I don't even know who's available or who would be good in that role.
There are things that people have said. What about Chris Carpenter? Chris Carpenter works for the Angels as a consultant. Chris Carpenter wasn't happy with the St. Louis Cardinals after not re-signing him to his consultant role. So I know he's under contract, but I assume that's something you can get out of because you were offered a big time position. Now, again, I don't know if that's something he's into or something that he wants. I had the ability to talk to Chris Carpenter a little bit this year. Kyle and I, we met him, got some autographs, and he's not a super charismatic man.
Yeah.
Like he's not like,
he's not going to come out like Mike Maddox did, do the claws on your
Right.
shoulder and tell you, hey, let's go get it. You're all right.
Right. He's the cuss in your face type guy.
Maybe we need that.
Maybe he is. Maybe that's what they need. I don't know. I just don't know. I haven't really seen any names thrown out as of yet for a pitching coach and I don't know, what's out there either. I do know I heard today.
Is Dave Duncan available? Let's go get Dave. He may be 104, but
I was going to say he might be
Duncan.
he might be,
Please.
but someone did mention today on the fast lane, possibly that Shelley Duncan has been brought up, possibly bench coach, to be involved with the franchise. He currently works for the White Sox as an analytics specialist in the organization somewhere. And he was brought up as possible interesting to talk to. So that that kind of goes into the same conversation of Dave Duncan, to Shelley Duncan. So I don't know. I just really don't know what makes sense. But as you said, if it's all internal, I wouldn't be shocked either. If they move Turner Ward up from his assistant hitting instructor to the hitting coach, I wouldn't be shocked. If they move Stubby Clapp up to the whatever the bench coach, then bench coach. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if both of those things happen because, as Mosaic said today, they are a pipeline-driven organization, and that pipeline also includes how they get their managers,
Right.
their coaches, and all that. Because look at Ollie Marmol, look at Mike Schilt, look at Mike Matheny. That's where everyone has come up through, is through the organization, where they brought Stubby Clapp, where they brought, all those guys have been part of the organization, and I wouldn't be shocked if they just moved. It's not flashy, it's nothing exciting, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's how it went.
They stayed with them.
Let me throw out one more name, and Ryan knows this is coming, and it's really because I really personally would love to see it happen. This is a guy who is a pitching coach, who has been a pitching coach. He's currently with the Pittsburgh Pirates as their hitting coach. He spent stints in Milwaukee and was actually the hitting coach with the Cubs when they won the World Series, and that name is Andy Haynes. Andy who, you say? Well, he's from Cardinal country, born in Southern Illinois, lives down in Tennessee. I think, knowing his family, was a Cardinal fan growing up. And obviously, another stop along his journey was as the AAA manager of the Marlins organization. So the Cardinals know of him through their spring training relationship down in Miami. They know of obviously his pedigree being the hitting coach for the Cubs when they won the World Series. Now, obviously, went with the Pirates this year. That's probably not the best in terms of resume material, saying you were the hitting coach of the Pirates, but a guy from the Cardinals area, who the Cardinals are familiar with hitting coach experience, help guys like Kyle Schwarber and oh my gosh, Milwaukee, big guy, outfielder, left fielder, gone.
Yelich?
Thank you.
Yelich.
Yeah.
When he was with them.
When he was doing well.
MVP Yelich.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think he's got some pedigree from Cardinals Nation. Go get him. We'll see.
Yeah, and
That
I've tasked Kyle to get Andy on the podcast.
Perfect.
So I told him
He
to
has.
make that happen.
Yeah.
He-
If he
you know,
signs with the Cardinals, I'll get it.
No. I want it done beforehand.
Oh, okay. He
Before
can announce that he's been signed by the Cardinals on the podcast.
that is even
Yes.
better. That would be much better. But
That'd be perfect.
I think it's going to be a much more difficult ask once he is
Sure.
if he was on the Cardinals. I also want to talk to him about hitting philosophy. I wanted, before this announcement on Jeff Albert, I wanted to know how involved a hitting coach is, how much a hitting coach can affect someone, right? I wanted to know all those details, and if we could have got a hitting coach on, a major league hitting coach, I would love to hear, just to pick a brain of that and what that really entails and how much they can really affect someone, how they can help someone, how can they get someone back on track. Like, I'd really be interested to know that as well. But if that means Kyle gets some free tickets, I'm definitely in for Andy Haynes to be the St. Louis
Great.
Cardinals hitting coach. Absolutely.
Get us some of those seats right by the dugout.
Yeah, Brad Thompson's, or you're talking about the
I'm talking-
commissioner seats?
yeah.
The commissioner seats. Yes.
Get to go down in there and
Doesn't the Haynes family have someone else in
Yeah,
baseball as well?
There's Andy's younger brother, Kyle Haynes, is actually in the Giants organization as a coach as well. So there's a lot of pedigree coming from the small area around North Clay High School in Southern Illinois.
What town is that?
North Clay.
Yeah, is
is
that a
in,
town or is that a school?
Hang on,
Okay.
I'll get there. Clay City, I think.
Oh, well, that would make
that's
sense.
right. Give me a second. I'll get it. But yeah, so
Southern Illinois is Cardinals
Illinois.
country.
It's rural Louisville.
Southern-
There it is. Louisville, spelled like Louisville, but Louisville,
Mm.
Illinois. That's where North Clay High School is.
And yeah, that's all Cardinals country. I mean,
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
I mean, you can
Guys,
be
I
Cubs
gotta-
fans.
yeah.
I got to leave it with you. I got to jet off of here. Some of us have to work tomorrow.
I mean, we all have to work.
on-
I mean,
Some
this
of
is
us
more
are old
important.
and need our sleep. So
That's
let's
true.
shut off. Let you go. Fascinating show tonight. Loved it, and we'll hopefully get some deals done and have more stuff to talk about here soon.
All right, Kyle. Appreciate you.
Thanks, man. See ya.
All right. Well, now that the dead weight's gone. No, I'm kidding. What I mean, what else you want to get into?
So I was looking up
Okay.
some on Chris Carpenter and a little what happened there.
Yeah.
There was an article from last December around when he got that role with the Angels. So he was laid off by the Cardinals.
Yeah.
When he was a special assistant in September 2020. That was during the pandemic. A lot of people, I mean, all the teams were kind of laying off some of those guys, special assistant guys.
Well, yeah, they couldn't help anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't working.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what he's doing, or what he's done this last year with the Angels, actually, is coaching the quote mental aspect of the Angels minor league pitchers rather than the physical. So we were kind of just joking, you know,
Right.
he's not the. So I mean, apparently that's a lot of what his role. He said he got into that some with the Cardinals, but he got into it more with the Angels. And he's got, this says a new wife, is a former Texas native, who, not former, sorry, her former name, that says is a Texas native, who does mental performance work with the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh.
And so he's gotten into a lot of the mental aspect. And this actually says that he was kind of checking in on a lot of guys before he even got this role. He said, you know, it was the right opportunity. I've done Zoom calls, phone calls, checked in on guys. The guys are checking in on me. I'm asking about their anxieties, pressures, dealing with families and travel, off-season programs. So sounds a little maybe 180 from the Carpenter
Right.
we remember. So maybe that kind of role has prepped him a little bit more, maybe for a full pitching coach role. And this does say here that he lives in Texas now. And last offseason, he was playing, he had a new golf buddy in Cardinals pitching coach Mike Maddox.
Yeah.
So they played some golf together and they spent some time together. So maybe we put a plug into Maddox to talk to Chris Carpenter and try to get him back over here. I think a lot of fans would love that.
Yeah.
I would be down with it, especially if he's figured out a mental side where he could, you know, work with those younger guys maybe that can't quite take the kick in the butt like
Right.
probably Wainwright could, for
Right.
example, this year. I wouldn't hate it. I mean, I don't know who else is out there. You know, pitching coach again for me is another one of those. It was great when we had Dave Duncan.
It was just constant. It was a constant. Like
Yeah.
you didn't worry about it. You didn't think about it.
And that's what I was going to say too with all these roles. I do want to see whoever they get next, hopefully some more consistency in those guys being there longer. Because I think that helps in terms, and Maddox was there 5 years. I mean, I think for the most part, he did fine. I don't think he did bad. You know,
No.
his first big year was when we got Michaelis from overseas, and Michaelis was fantastic.
Right.
You know, so I think he was helping guys. But yeah, I think Chris Carpenter, I didn't realize how much I enjoyed seeing former Cardinals in the dugout. So by former, I mean obviously like Albert coming back with Pujols was awesome. But seeing Skip in the dugout every game, I don't know. There's just something about seeing a former player that you adored that's back in the dugout with your team. Like I liked that.
Right.
And there's nothing that's just objective, you know,
Well,
outside of
it's
how they
keeping
were
it-
in that role as a
It's
coach or
keeping it in
whatever.
the family. It's
Yeah.
the like how do you like they talk about George Kissel, right? They talk about like how do you keep it the Cardinals way? Like how do you connect the past and the success of yesteryear with now? You connect it through that. It's very Indiana Hoosiers to me. Like you want to get back to what people know as great years, so you bring in people that knew about it, so you can teach it and expect it from those guys. Willie McGee being on the bench, right? Skip Schumacher, who was on the bench, like those guys are there. You know, John Mabry, you know, Mark McGuire, all those guys are all previous players that in the organization, and you do that because they know how the St. Louis Cardinals organization works, what's expected of them, and then they can also teach them what they need to teach them in positioning and fielding, Jose Akindo, like all those things, but they can also do it in the Cardinal way of what is expected
Right.
of St. Louis Cardinals players.
Well, speaking of George Kissel, it reminded me of one of my favorite tweets I saw from today
Okay.
was from, I forget the actual name. It's the Twitter handle just blew in from Stupid Town. John
Yeah.
Rabe. He said today, Jeff Albert quits And in a condo in San Diego somewhere, Mike Schultz is like, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yes, you know,
The difference in philosophy is gone.
right. So, like,
Supposedly.
do you think that John Mozeliak was like,
Oh, God.
are you kidding me? Like Jeff
He
Albert.
probably was.
Like Jeff Albert. I chose you
Over the manager.
over the manager of a Major League Baseball club. I chose you.
Over a Kissel protege of the Cardinal Way and all that.
I chose you, and you're just gonna spur, and I am ecstatic that he is gone.
I think a lot of Cardinals Twitter is.
Yeah.
A lot of those fans are for
Yeah,
sure.
like I'm happy that, but I can't. You got to think that John Mozeliak is pissed.
I would think.
He said he was shocked. John
Yeah.
Mozeliak said in the presser today he was shocked that.
And Mike Schultz like, now you know how it feels.
Yeah, no kidding. But you know what? John Mozeliak's still getting paid.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's still making millions, probably a couple $1 million a year. Like not like huge money, but like bench coaches and hitting coaches, they don't make tons of money. And I'll come back to that of people keep on throwing out there Yadier Molina and as a pitching coach and like Albert Pujols coming to be the hitting coach. Like it's not going to happen because those dudes are done traveling every single day all summer. This position's going to pay $500,000 a year, right? Like they're not. It's not going to be enough for them to give a crap about. Now, could you see those guys come and be in the spring training? Sure, but I also wouldn't be shocked and not see Yadier Molina for years. Like if Yadier Molina disappeared and to Puerto Rico for the next 5 years, and
he did that for a month and a half this year to hang
I'm
out
saying
with his basketball
But
team.
I'm saying if he did it for 5 years and he didn't come back and be a
It
part
wouldn't be
of
surprising.
not at all. Like not one bit.
So what? McGuire retired. Mark McGuire retired 2001. 2001 at age 37. We hired him as hitting coach. I believe it was either 2011 or 2012. It was 10 years later.
He was on the 2011. He was the 2011 manager whenever we won the World
The hitting
Series.
coach.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, he was the hitting coach in 2011.
That's right.
when we
In
won.
12 too, when we had a good playoff run there too as well. That was 10 years later.
Mhm.
Why would Yadier or Albert do that right? I don't think Albert can with what what he's locked into with the Angels. I don't even know if he's allowed to do that.
We
I have
haven't
no
had
idea.
that conversation about that part of it, and I have some. I think if
He said he's going to honor that. That's the last thing I read about.
I've read that he's going to honor it, and he has the ability to opt out of it as well. I think it would be a travesty to the St. Louis Cardinals if he opts in to that deal because
How long is that?
10 years.
But see, it wouldn't surprise me again. I mean,
it's-
most of these
it's-
former Cardinals, it's 10 years of Schumacher
Yeah, but
coming as bench coach. That's more than 10 years later.
But how I understand it is that he cannot don a Cardinals hat, a Cardinals jersey, anything non-Angels related. He cannot do it. He cannot represent other ball clubs. He cannot, even if he went into the Hall of Fame in 5 years, right? He cannot even if because the Hall of Fame says, you get the Hall of Fame decides whose cap you wear going to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Like the team doesn't say you're a Cardinals Hall of Famer.
I would imagine they take your preference into
Right.
consideration.
But let's say the Hall of Fame says you're going in as a Cardinals because he should be, obviously.
Right.
But you know what? He cannot wear a Cardinals hat going into the Hall of Fame.
That's in his.
Yes, a part of
That's
that.
crazy.
That there's a lot of it that we don't know. Like, can he be at opening day in St. Louis? Can he
In
get
a red jacket. Yeah.
Can he get his number retired and be there? Can he get a
That would be absurd.
Can he get a
There's no
statue
way
dedicated?
that they can.
Like, can he get his statue dedicated and can he be a part of it? Can he ride around in the Corvettes? Can he ride around? You know what I mean?
There's no way they could keep him. I mean, surely.
But that's going to be the contract part of it, right?
Mm.
Does it say if he,
Hopefully
is
he
that
says, "I'll do this, but we need to rework the language of this first."
That's what I hope as well.
Yeah.
That would be like if it's going down to that nitty gritty of it. I hope he says, "I am willing to do community things and outreach,
Right.
but I want to rework what the things."
And I get look. I don't harbor feelings against it. I get some of the loyalty toward that because at the end of the day, they gave him the contract that he wanted. When he left with us, so I get the loyalty of that. We've got a comment.
Do you know the Will?
I do not know Will for real.
God! Oh my God!
But look,
Oh my God,
I've
hold
talked
on.
to this
Oh my-
about. I've talked to this about Ryan before. Will, no, I'm not related to Paul DeYoung. You would be
It
surprised.
doesn't say are you. It doesn't say are you related. It says are you really?
Yeah, are you really?
Young?
If I
Look,
was, I wouldn't be
he's-
trashing myself all the time.
There's wind coming at me all the time over here because he's swinging and missing the whole time. So it's just
Yeah,
air
yeah.
flowing.
You
Are
would
you
be
Paul Young?
surprised, man. I get that all the time from people. I've gotten it, man. I got it several years ago. It's opening day. We played Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, two of the ushers asked me walking in if I was related to Paul DeYoung, and then a couple people in the stands where we were sitting at near me asked, like, well, "You look a lot like
Look,
him."
man, if he was really good, I'd be wearing his jersey all the time. Like, yep, I'm his family. I'm
I
his
got
brother.
one of his giveaways this year, and I traded it for a Flaherty one.
Oh, I got Flaherty behind you over there, but yeah, it's funny. I mean, that is really funny.
Will also
Will
said
for real.
rip Jeff Albert too.
Yeah,
So
R.I.P. Jeff Albert.
yeah, yeah, I get that all the time. I got that this year. There's one of the games I went to this year. Actually, it was the one that I got DeYoung's jersey at. I opened it up. I was like, "Oh, it's DeYoung." He was like, "That's perfect. You look just like him."
Oh my God.
I was like, "Great. Could I throw this on and maybe just go on the field then and walk into the clubhouse?"
You might have a better chance at hitting baseballs.
Yeah, I get that a lot, man. Especially with the Cardinals hat on. So
That's really funny.
hey, Paul's not a bad looking dude. He's a good looking dude. He's smart and intelligent. He just can't
Will coming
get
hard.
hit.
Yeah, thanks for response, Ryan and Paul. You should just change your name on the bottom to say Paul from now on.
Yeah.
Paul DeYoung. So let's talk a little bit about Paul DeYoung. Sure, let's use Will for real as a segue to Paul DeYoung. Is Paul DeYoung on this roster and to start the season in 2023?
If he is, it better be because they could not find anyone to trade for take him.
Who would take him? I guess you got to think of probably a similar deal as Dexter Fowler. I'm going to take on a bunch of this money. You give me
Colorado Rockies, maybe.
No, didn't we look up that deal? That ended up being Fowler deal. It was a player to be named later, and we looked it up, and there was no player. It was cash considerations.
Yeah.
So only thing that happened was we sent
Fowler
him
pretty much the rest of it,
and we paid him all of his salary, and then they sent us back like $500,000 or something.
Yeah.
So that's a bad deal, but we got rid of Fowler.
It might have to be that.
Yeah, I think,
and it's contingent too on do they surprise us and sign Carlos Correa or Dansby Swanson? If you do,
you gotta go.
Then something like that is for sure
He's
happening.
owed $9 million, I think.
Yeah, I'm pulling up his contract here. Yeah, so he made $6 million in 2022. Jumps to $9 million next season, and then two club options, 24 and 25, which those are 12 and a half, and then 15 million. So those for sure aren't going to get picked up. Either way,
but he has
2023 is for sure his last season.
But there's a buyout there too. If they don't pick up those options, they have to pay him $1 million, $2 million. Look at that. It's on his contract, Sport Track or one of the. There's
if we do not pick it up in 2024, it's $2 million. If we pick it up in 24, don't pick it up in 25, it's a $1 million buyout. Yeah, so they're not going to pick it up.
So they owe him $9 million this year. Is that right?
Yes.
So then they owe him a $2 million buyout after this year as well. So they owe him $11 million.
Yes.
Will comes in again. He actually is a Paul DeYoung fan, so he wants your autograph probably. But he's hoping a new hitting coach might figure out some things. For now, that is not a terrible take.
No,
because we've been bashing Jeff Albert from the beginning of this episode. Okay, me. I don't know if anyone else has, but
when we saw Paul DeYoung come back up for 2 weeks, it was really good
in Memphis. It took a while to figure out in Memphis, because he was not good early on in Memphis whenever he got sent down. And now Paul DeYoung cannot go back down to Memphis. He does not have any more options left because of his time of service, not because of options back and forth. That was a confusing part last year. Once he was brought up to come back to play in Washington at the trade deadline, then his time going back down was done. So, that's it. He's now on the Cardinals' major league roster, or he is cut or traded or something else. So, I can see the St. Louis Cardinals keeping Paul DeYoung and having this new hitting coach, Matt Holliday, Jim Edmonds.
He can't be your everyday starter, though.
No, he absolutely cannot.
I don't care. I don't care if he has a great spring. He can't.
Even if he has a great spring, no. It needs to be Tommy Edman and Nolan Gorman probably up the middle. That's who you should go into the season starting.
Donovan.
Yeah.
Look, and Gorman, and we've talked about this.
I need pop.
Well,
Donovan and Donovan and Tommy.
And I want the pop. And I think I honestly think and hope Gorman could be our Kyle Schwarber in a couple of years down the road. Now I don't know if he's going to hit 47, home runs. I mean, he might have that. He might have that potential.
He's going to hit 30 to 40.
Yeah, yeah, and he's going to have the strikeouts. But
yeah,
you'll take that with that kind of power.
Well, people talk,
And he doesn't have to play second base to do that every day.
People talk about that with Nolan Gorman. They trash him for the strikeouts. Do you know that Harrison Bader, who never hit more than like 16 home runs,
High strikeout rate.
30% of the time?
Yeah.
It's the same number that had Nolan
You
Gorman.
can live with that number when you're hitting a home run every 10, 11, 12, 13 at bats.
But I'm talking about.
But we lived with it with Bader.
Harrison Bader hit 15 home runs.
Well, we lived with it with him because of his defense,
Defense.
essentially. So you have to bring something else,
Right.
whether it's power or defense or something,
Right.
to make up for it. But
And
Paul
I think
DeYoung's bringing none of the above.
he
And
even
he
at the
even
end
looked-
of the season.
He looked bad defensively
He
the
did.
last couple weeks.
At the end of the year, he like was just done, and he was making the playoff roster. Like it was like
Because he had to, I guess.
it was just.
Defensive switch.
But he wasn't even good at defense at the end of the year. So like
And now Mundo Sosa's going to the World Series.
and I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Happy for him.
He didn't play a huge role in that.
He did not. He caught the last out against the Cardinals.
Yep.
And that was probably
he
great.
hasn't fallen down rounding third with
And
them.
He hasn't hit an umpire in the face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's
Oh,
like
I forgot about that. Was this year, right? Or was that last
I
year?
don't remember.
Oh, that
it was
was
either
so
early
bad.
this year. It may have been early this year.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that poor umpire. But I'm happy for Mundo Sosa. I was happy for Bader. Like people on Twitter called me a Bader hater. Like no, I just gave facts of what Bader really is of a hitter. Like he way overachieved.
He's
Like
streaky.
that's okay. Like he's an elite defender.
And look, plantar fasciitis isn't something that just goes away.
Yeah.
It's not. So, and I hope the best for him. I hope it does. I hope it stays away. I hope maybe he has a surgery that helps fix it. And he's still great defensively, but that's not great foreshadowing of him. But it's going to be interesting, man. I'll be surprised if we do anything at shortstop this free agency when there was more
Last year.
free agent shortstops last year, and none of them really pan out that great, honestly.
So
At least the first year. Trevor Story looked awful.
yeah.
And I'll be the first
Correa
to say,
didn't
like,
have
I
a
wanted
great-
him.
And Correa didn't have a great
Correa had
injuries, but he didn't.
he can't quite stay healthy.
Yeah.
Is the problem with him? Who was the third one? Oh, Corey Seager.
Seager.
I think he had a pretty good
He
season.
was- yeah. So like, here's the points that I put up today that were important from the presser. So I want to make sure that we hit all of these today. So
Yeah.
we talked about Jeff Albert being out, Mike Maddox out, Waino back. We haven't really touched on that except that Waino's coming back and he's going to get to over 200 wins, right? Is the goal. And
Yep.
and the payroll will go up. We don't know how much. We did touch on that.
So I was going to say with Wainwright, couldn't you could make payroll go up also even further than you would think if it's a longer contract for somebody, because Wainwright's done after this season. He
Right.
said that too. So
Yeah.
that's another factor. You're not having to think about another 15 to 17 million contract for him next year,
right.
because he said this is it.
That's true. Like you don't have to worry about.
And that should also motivate you to go get another starting pitcher this offseason
and you
or
can,
next offseason.
you can escalate that contract, like cheaper this year,
Yes.
more expensive next year, that sort of thing. We talked about Skip going to Miami. We didn't talk a lot about it, but
Good for Skip. I'm happy
Yeah.
for him.
there
You
was
had some idiots trying to say that
yes, I was going to talk about that.
I forget her name. The new she's the GM.
Jim Kim NG is the last
Yeah.
name. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what it is.
You don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, I
I mean
don't-
it's hard to pronounce. But that she somehow wasn't being diverse in her managerial
The
side.
final three were
the first
supposed-
woman GM and
right, and minority woman GM.
yes.
They hired Skip Schumacher, who was a white man who never had any managerial experience, and they were upset because
The idiocy
the
of
other
that
two
statement.
guys were Latino. I don't know.
Right.
Well, one was the failed Mets manager that was there 1 year, and the other one was, I don't know, Rojas. I don't know if that was the Mets guy or not.
Oh, Miguel Rojas, yeah, I think.
And then there's two guys. There's two
Yeah.
Latino guys that didn't get it, and this guy, Keith Law, even
Yeah.
it was Keith Law.
Yeah, fairly big
Yeah.
name on Twitter reporter.
He was calling her out as what did he say was the exact? It was the ladder is just easier or something like that. He said
Something like that.
something that was just easier. Like, so you're saying that the racism bias is so strong that the GM, the Asian American woman GM of the Marlins, it's such a strong thing that she can't even look past it. Like she doesn't even know how to go against her own biases that are in there on her own. Like I just I couldn't get with that one. Like I'm all about equality and everything, but like that to me is like, what are we stretching for?
No. Yeah.
Like Skip Schumacher has been a bench coach and a bench coach for 5 years in San Diego.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he was a Major League Baseball player on championship teams.
Yeah.
Like
2 world championships.
give me winners. You know I like that. I like winners.
Yeah.
Give me a winner. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, Keith Law had said Schumacher has never managed anywhere. The Marlins hired him over a Latino candidate with MLB managerial experience, Rojas, and another with managerial experience in winter ball,
Yeah.
Espada. I'm not sure who Espada is. What he said at the end was the bar is just different.
The bar is just different because he's a
And
white
you're calling
guy,
out a minority
a minority
first
woman.
woman GM.
I just don't like okay, let's say it was a white guy GM, maybe. But you're also in Miami. Like you know what I mean? Like they know Latinos are it's good for them there because of the amount of Latinos there. Like it's but you know, you did just come off Don Mattingly, so like you know, like what does it matter? Like I don't know. Like it's just weird to me. I'm still gonna effort to get Don Mattingly on the show, even though he's no longer a manager.
And you're not going to get more fans coming to that ballpark in Miami just because it's a Latino manager.
Yeah, but
you're not.
You just want a winner.
Yes,
right?
That's what they need.
Rojas lasted 1 season as the Mets manager, and he was terrible, and he got fired.
Yep.
So yeah, his track record shows real good. The other guy was 1 year manager in winter ball, right? Yeah. Who would you take? Like, let me just tell you that. I don't tell you any names. You want the one guy that was a manager for the MLB for 1 year and was fired. You want one guy who was the manager in winter ball. Or would you like the 10-year MLB veteran that has been a bench coach for 6 years
2 World Series
and won 2 World Series? Which guy are you taking? I'm taking the winner, even though he's only been a bench coach. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, and he probably interviews well. Like Tim McKernan said on his show today. When he had Skip on his show years ago, he said he was probably a player still, or just after being a player. Like maybe when he was playing with the Dodgers, he may have had him on. He couldn't remember the exact year. He said, I talked to him and I said, this guy is either going to be on TV or he's going to be a manager.
Yeah.
Because he's that well-spoken, that well, like just carries himself. So he probably interviewed really well as well. Like it's not that far-fetched. Johnny asks about where we think the Phil's going to hold at the catcher. We talked about that early in the show. You can always go back and listen on podcast or on Spotify, Anchor, Apple. We even learned it was on, what was that one app the guy wanted?
Oh, I couldn't. Yeah, it was so random.
Yeah.
I had never heard that one.
No, me neither.
I can't remember what it was.
But we're on it.
But yeah, Johnny, we talked about it earlier. Cliff notes real quick. I think it's probably either going to be Wilson Contreras, Salvador Perez, or Sean Murphy. Obviously, the latter two in Perez or Murphy, they would have to make a trade for. Contreras is just a free agent, so all that would cost is money. But I think logically, you look at the market; those are the 3 guys. Royals just fired Mike Matheny, so they're kind of blowing everything up again. They traded Benintendi.
Yes.
And they traded, who was the other one? I thought there was another one.
You know, the unvaccinated one that went to Toronto. He was unvaxxed, went to Toronto, and he had to get Whit Merrifield.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Good player too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know where I just pulled that from.
Yeah. 2, especially Merrifield. He's been there a long time. So it would not surprise me at all if they're shopping Salvador Perez with his contract in the 3 or 4 years that he has left. It's going to be one of those 3. I feel pretty confident in saying that it's going to be one of those 3 catchers. They're not going to hand the reins to Kisner.
I'll put that up. Yeah, they're probably
Mo pretty much said that. Yeah, it's
we are
go
looking
outside.
on the outside for a catcher, and I was really happy to hear that because it was like, oh, what are we going to do? And Mo really said we got to find. We don't want to go away from hitting. He said away from defense. Like we've built our team around defense, so we need a guy that's going to be able to lead the team in that part of it. But we also know that we need some hitting as well. So,
he didn't go the Matt Carpenter route and say Matt Carpenter's our third baseman.
Right. He didn't.
Kisner's our catcher.
Right. He didn't go that way. So you know that and Will for real. Man, Will's just all over it. Salvi Perez would be awesome. He hits bombs.
He would
I
be a
don't-
great fit.
I've never looked at Salvi because the first time I heard
He's got
that
5
name,
gold gloves too, by the way.
I was going to ask. So
Yeah.
the first time I heard his name brought up about this situation was today. Like that's the first time I heard people talk about Salvador Perez. I was going to ask, what does his metrics look like, framing metrics and outside of
Right.
average and all those types of things right now in the last couple of years? And you and I talked about this. He seems way older than 32.
He does.
He's
yeah.
32 years old. He seems way older than that. So could you get him for a few years left? I think so. But
He
again,
turns 33 in May.
so I am more apt to sign the guy. We're rehashing this for Johnny here, everyone. But I'm more apt to sign the guy that is available for money only in Wilson Contreras.
Yeah.
Only because he's for money only. Like you've already done. You don't, and if you don't have to give up guys, prospects, or what otherwise, then don't do it. So like, I think you should go and give the guy money and make him a player instead of trading pieces.
Yeah. And Contreras probably at his career point in his career a little bit better, I would say, defensively than Salvador.
Okay.
I don't know a whole lot about Salvador Perez defensively the last couple of years. I know that he's DH'd a lot
I know he hits
the
bombs.
last couple of times. He does.
I
I
know
mean,
he
he
hits
hit
bombs.
he hit 40. What was it? A couple of years ago, 48 in 2021. That was his big season. 23 this year, but he only played 114 games. So he's had a few injuries. I mean, 16 through 18, he played about 130 or more games, and he 22 home runs, 27. So he's always had 25 plus home run pop. But Contreras can give you that,
Sure.
and it's
my
probably got a
only
better
worry-
arm.
My
Is-
only worry on Contreras is supposedly
Game calling, yeah.
this worry in the clubhouse. That's my only thing.
Oh,
Is like what is that? And the Cardinals would know that.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't sign him if that's going to be the case. Like they would know what
I
that's going
think-
to look like.
I really think Yachty's going to be talking to him this offseason. I think he's going to be asking Yachty a lot of questions about the culture, about the legacy of the Cardinals, all those things. Johnny Contreras said his favorite place to play is STL. I have heard that before. Bryce Harper said that a few years ago too,
There's
when
been
he
a-
was a free agent.
Trout has talked about.
But we didn't even try to get him.
Trout has talked
So,
about how
yeah.
awesome it was to play.
When they came back, when
Yeah.
Albert came back for the first time, yeah.
The guy, hyper pragmatist. I don't even know that's the word. He asked if we had it on Pocket Casts. Yes, everyone.
Yes.
We are on Pocket Cast as well.
Wherever
So
that's at. Yeah.
you can find us on Apple, Anchor, Google, Spotify,
Yep.
Pocket Casts, any place you can probably find podcasts that you can listen to this again on there. Spotify lets you do the video again. Obviously, you can always go back to YouTube and watch us on
Yeah.
YouTube again. And you can always go down and look at our Twitter feed retweets. But the easiest way to just pull us video-wise, I would say, is Spotify and YouTube to
Yep.
go back and listen to an old episode. But
Or
you can
go to our Facebook page. You can watch
Oh,
the
Facebook.
video stream there
I didn't
too.
even think
Stays
about-
up.
Yeah, Facebook's as there as well. Another question.
Yeah, Johnny had another one there.
Let me pop it
Do
up.
you guys think we will see Walker or win some next year? We don't have to go too deep into this because we talked about getting Kyle Reese back on with Birds on the Black, and he
Yes.
would have some great insight on this. Both Wynn and Walker and 6 other Cardinals prospects are at the AFL again this year, and actually all the guys that were in the Arizona Fall League last year wound up playing in the majors this year. I don't know if you saw
I
that.
did not.
So that's really interesting. So we've got another 7 or 8 that are there. Wynn and Walker are 2 of those, and they're both doing great. Walker obviously is killing it. I've told you this. I do think we are for sure going to see Walker at some point this year, either as a September call-up or, for me, more likely, and my hope is that he tears it up in spring training and he is your starting right fielder, left fielder, maybe even opening day. I mean, that's probably a long shot, but
If you ask
if you don't
me-
go sign an outfielder, we're going to need somebody.
If you asked me mid-season last year, I would tell you no.
Yeah.
We would not see Jordan Walker.
But is that you talking before they traded Bader?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have said no. We would not be seeing Jordan Walker in 2023. At the end of the season, I would have told you, yeah, we got to see Jordan Walker in
Yeah.
2023, and I think we got to see him straight out the gate. Now I sit with what you just kind of said was, what do we do? We're going to sign a catcher.
Yes.
Are we gonna? What other pieces are we gonna sign? Bench bats? Are we gonna sign Brandon Nimmo? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are we gonna sign?
He's not much better than a bench bat for me, though.
I understand that, but I'm saying, like, what are they bringing in? And it's got to be better than Lars Nootbaar, right?
Yeah.
It's
I
that,
mean,
that's what they.
there's
so
part of me that's interested
I
to
don't think
see
they-
what Lars could do
I don't think they
as
want
an everyday
to
player.
bring Walker up to start the year. I don't think they like. If they have to, they will.
Right.
I don't think they want to. So, like, if they can ease him into the game instead of expect him from the get go, would be easier on him because
Well, one way you can do that is obviously signing a good catcher
yeah,
and maybe going and signing a Carlos Correa or a Dansby Swanson. And then you've got 3 or 4 guys already that are contributing in those ways that you need to, and it takes less pressure off a guy like
right,
Nolan
to be that
Gorman
guy.
or Jordan Walker right away.
Well, and takes pressure off Tyler O'Neill.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Who we don't know
yeah,
where he's going to be.
it would also take pressure off Dylan Carlson.
Yeah.
To the Mason Wynn, I don't think we see Mason
I
Wynn.
think
in
he's at least
2023.
2 years away.
Yeah.
I would say 2024 on him, and that's still depending on if they surprise us and go sign a shortstop.
Now, if they would sign, let's say,
Carlos
Dansby-
Correa or
Dan-
Dansby.
yeah, if they would sign him, I could see Wynn in 25.
Yeah.
And I could see if they liked it in a longer contract that they would trade Wynn. I know they really like him, and they know they're a pipeline-driven team. That's why I don't think that they would sign any. I don't think they're going to sign any shortstop at all. And Mo mentioned today in the press conference, someone asked a question in a roundabout way, and he said, "You're asking if I'm in the shortstop market, right?" You went away in a weird way to ask me that, right? He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay. There are good players available. We will look into good players. Like they're gonna look, right?"
Even that's interesting because he didn't say that last year.
Yeah, they kind of did though.
Did he?
He kind of danced around like we're gonna dip our toes. We're gonna check in.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? We're gonna check in on it.
Trey Turner's not looking for a check-in.
No,
Carlos Correa's probably not either.
Yeah, he's Dior, right? Isn't that what he said? Did you hear that quote?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If the
Yeah,
Twins
I'm the product.
I'm Dior. If you
Yeah.
want to sign me,
Yeah.
give me the money.
He's going to want some money.
Yeah, and
He's the youngest, too, by the way. I thought he was older. He's like 27 or 28.
yeah, and I just don't think the Cardinals touch that market at all. And I think that because of Wynn, they're not going to. And I think that they won't be bringing Wynn up until 2024. And 2024 might be later 2024 unless Tommy, Gorman, Donovan, all the middle infielder guys aren't working out.
Or somebody gets hurt.
Someone gets hurt. Like, unless there's a need, I don't think
That could be the case for Walker out of spring training this year, too. Let's say
Absolutely.
Tyler O'Neill gets hurt again. Or let's say Newbar gets hurt. And Johnny, we see your comment here again.
You think that Carlson's not going to make the team?
No. Carlson is going to be playing center field,
Absolutely.
especially after not being traded for Juan Soto. And
You have
Mozeliak.
to.
Mozeliak talked, some of his comments today were also regarding Carlson. He said he
He
thought
had to have
that
a backup plan. Did you hear that?
Well, and he said that he thought the injury to Carlson
Was important.
hampered
Absolutely.
kind of where he was going.
But
so
he said if Carlson can't hit from the left side, we need to have another plan. He did say
Yeah.
that.
yeah, he did.
So Carlson, to me, I would not be shocked if it is O'Neill, Carlson, Nootbaar, with Yepes on the bench.
Yeah.
To start the season. I would not be shocked. Now, if they picked up someone different in the outfield, I would not be shocked either. But if they ran out the same dudes, I'm not surprised by that.
No.
And I think
But if one of those three doesn't work, Walker's got to be.
but
right around
Yepes
the
is going to
corner.
get the shot first, don't you think?
Yes, but what if it's like last year or last year? Saying last year now this year. What if it's like this year, and it's not only Carlson that's struggling, but it's O'Neill that's struggling or hurt
Absolutely. You're right.
again?
No,
Then still
definitely.
give Yepes the shot and left, but somebody's you know what I mean, or maybe Nootbaar. I'm interested to see what Nootbaar can do in a full season. I'm not quite sure I'm sold that he's the everyday guy. You know what I mean? I see
Nootbaar's a
him
great
best as a
spark.
fourth. Yeah,
He's a great
he's
spark.
best as a fourth outfielder. But you've also got Yepes, who's I guess at this point DH in left field, and maybe once in a while spells Goldie at first, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's
absolutely.
another factor into Walker, honestly, that we didn't talk about. Goldschmidt's a free agent after 2024. So we've got him 2023, 2024. So we were kind of talking a little bit, you were sarcastically about what if you just let Arenado go? I think that's another big reason why you've got to keep Nolan. Because as much as we don't want to hear it,
Who said was sarcastic?
well, not it was tongue in cheek. It was tongue in cheek because at the end of the day, if and we've got to think about this as a possibility. What if August 30th was the beginning of the end of a downfall for Paul Goldschmidt? What if it's another Matt Carpenter 2.0? And I don't think it is. I hope it is not.
Sure.
But if it is, then you've got 2 more years of that. And if it's bad,
How does it happen?
I don't know how it happens, but
how
if
does
it
it happen?
but if it is,
They said there's no
you
surgeries,
could put
by the
Walker
way.
at first base.
No one's having any off-season surgeries.
Oh, we joked about that. I watched Goldschmidt
I
have
thought
like a
for
wrist
sure.
surgery or
no,
something.
I thought it was his back.
Oh yeah, his back.
I
Yeah.
thought it was his back. I thought we
Hey,
were
there's
going
still time for that to come out. I
Yeah.
mean, we're young into the off
They
season.
asked. That was questions today.
Yeah,
no one
there's
no one had any issues. No
Yeah.
no surgeries. No treatments and different things like that. Like I really thought that Goldie was going to say, yeah, I had some real back stuff going on.
Yeah.
I had a little cleanup surgery to get everything straight away. Like, I really did. Like, I really thought that's what was going to come out.
Right.
And I just don't understand. I was talking to one of my employees today, like how these players in every sport, all of a sudden is this downturn of like from top to boom, it's over. I just don't get it. Like I don't know what is it age only? Like,
I mean,
but some players do it that aren't even. It's not even an age thing.
right.
Like it's just all of a sudden they can't cut it anymore. It's very strange, and so I just can't. God, I just hope that can't be the case. For
I think it's a
goalie.
lot of different factors, specifically with Carpenter. I mean, bat speed,
Yeah,
the shift killed him, which is being banned
Right.
again now. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I hope I'm wrong, man. I hope we still got 2 more great years of Goldie. I hope that he's great these next 2 years, and maybe we get him another 2 or 3 year deal. If he's still good at that age. But I think I think that's a huge reason why you want Nolan long term, because if Goldie, you get maybe not near as much as you got out of him the first 3 years, these last 2, then you could plug Jordan Walker in at first base, or you could
Absolutely.
I feel less comfortable plugging Juan Yepes at first base, but Walker, I mean, he's probably too athletic to play first base. Honestly,
before this year, I thought that was Jordan Walker's way to be on the club.
right
Was first
until
base.
they traded the outfielders.
Yeah.
or Bader.
I thought that's where his opportunity would be in 2024,
Yeah.
25. Like I thought he was another year away. Like I thought 2024 was the way that he got onto the club, is spelling Paul Goldschmidt from first and Paul being a lot of DH. Like I thought that was Jordan Walker's way to make the club.
Right.
Now, obviously, he's been playing outfield for the second half of the AAA season. He's doing so in the AFL currently. So like
Threw a guy out in the AFL the other night.
had-
It was 99.7
he has a
mile per hour
hell of
throw.
an arm. Like his
Yeah.
arm is crazy. Like, and he's a third baseman, right? Third
Right.
baseman's arms are supposed to be really good. And and Gorman's arm is strong, very strong as well. It's got to be a really strong second baseman's arm. But so like,
Yeah.
so that's that's just the way that I think for the Win and Walker question. I just don't think that we'll see Win. Walker, I think will come up at some point.
Win for sure. I don't think we'll see him at all in 2023. You'd have to have like a lot of crazy injuries or something.
Johnny's jumping in again. Johnny, look, this is what I'm going to tell you, Johnny. You got to go back,
Yeah.
start from the beginning. And I talk about Nolan Arenado's opt-out and why he will opt out at probably 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he
we
will.
tweeted out from there.
And I think that he will opt out. But you're going to say what? But don't forget, let me scroll up to all these comments. Let's not forget, what was his name? David. David said, oh my gosh, here we go. David said, thanks, I understand why he's going to
Yes.
opt out. Appreciate you guys explaining this. He understands it now.
Has to do with a little
Nuance in the contract.
nuance, yeah, clause, whatever you want to call it in his contract, Johnny, that he could get a little extra money. We don't
A
think
little,
we don't
20
yeah.
million.
We don't think he's going anywhere. He's
No.
going to be back with the Cardinals. Johnny also said earlier, I hate that we really don't have a for sure spot for Donovan because because he gets on base like no other. Look,
Why isn't he a super utility type guy?
yes, and you need those guys.
Yeah.
The Dodgers have tons of those guys.
Sure.
Chris Taylor. They had an outfielder this year that also played several. Mookie Betts plays all over the place. Yeah, I think Donovan surprised me. I mean, he's fun to watch too. I mean, he had a really good season overall. Gold Glove finalist for the new utility Gold Glove. I think having guys like him and Tommy are big. I mean, I look at he and Tommy like how I looked at Schumacher and Descalso. I mean, those are like winning players, and you need those guys.
Scrappy.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
grind
you need
out
you
at
need those
bats.
guys on your team. They're not going to carry the team, but they might get you a clutch hit, and you know they're going to be solid wherever they're at. They're not going to hurt you defensively.
Yeah,
So
and I understand that he gets on base a lot, and that's his best ability.
yeah.
Is getting on base a lot. He doesn't hit for average.
Did you see the video of him the other day?
No,
There was a video of him. I can't remember the company, but it's one of those. He was swinging with the puck
virtual
knob,
thing. Oh no,
the puck knob, and he was working on exit velocity. It was, I think it's the
getting
same.
his speed up.
I think it's the same place that Newt Bar worked on his stuff last
Okay.
year.
Yes.
So maybe he's trying to probably get
So-
some more pop.
Yeah, pretty much. If you don't know how that bat works, it's pretty much moving the weight from the
Yeah.
barrel to the knob to be able to give a lot more bat speed to get through the zone. And and I thought about that as well because obviously Goldie went to that bat, struggled early, then obviously went on his
Figured it out,
tear, and then I wondered if he was going to switch off that bat whenever he was going so poorly.
Yeah,
And
he never did.
No, he never did. And I just thought maybe that was an idea that why not?
Right.
But he never went off of it because Nolan did that bat from the Reds. Joey Votto,
Votto.
and then he dumped it. Joey Votto
Oh, yeah.
used that bat and he
I
didn't
think
do
Gorman
well.
was using it.
I don't I think he uses that bat.
Oh yeah. You've got one of his
yeah, I
bats.
got one of his bats.
There was someone else I thought I saw that was
I don't know
using
what
it.
that's a
Oh, it was
Victus.
It was New Bar.
New
New Bar was using it. Yeah.
Gorman's is a Victus. Is that what it says? Victus? V?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gorman's is a Victus bat.
Yeah, that stuff that'll be interesting. Yeah, the Goldschmidt thing's hard. I mean, even Arenado, he wasn't great September 1st on, and I don't know what the explanation of that is. I really don't, because what's even scarier about it is we weren't facing great pitching
Right.
the last month of the season either.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't facing a lot of great pitching.
No, bad pitching. Lots
Yeah.
of Pirates.
Yes.
Lots of Pirates. I mean, we played the Pirates a lot down the stretch, and we couldn't hit anybody. I don't want to go backwards. I don't.
No.
I don't. So
yeah, we're closing in the 2-hour mark. We
Yeah.
can wrap this thing up.
did I hit all the points? Right. That was
I think we did.
all the points of what was said today in the press conference. That was important. That was going to be changing thing. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Jeff Albert out. Mike Maddox out. Waino's back. Skip goes to Miami. Payroll will go up. Catcher from outside is a priority for the team. And Arenado questioned Mo about the 2023 roster and while deciding on his opt-out. Those were the key points I took away from the press conference today. I think that we were itching to get back to talk about, Jeff Albert. Well, before this was talked
Yeah.
about, we were going to talk about already the opt-out. And both of those things, to Mo's credit, he went to the forefront,
Yep.
talked about them head on. But, this gave us the opportunity to start off season 2 for us 1 year later to kick it off
Yeah.
for That's a Winner podcast.
And stick with us. We're gonna get some more fun guests on. It seems like the times we've gotten the beat writers during this off season, because they're not as busy. So definitely gonna try to get Katie Wu back on again. Maybe I think it'd be fun to have her on again to talk about what she thinks the Cardinals are actually going to do this offseason, who they might target.
Jeff Jones had said he would come on the show.
Jeff Jones, he's written a lot lately about the payroll.
We
So it'd
sat
be
next
great
to his
talk with him about-
mom at
Yeah.
the game in
Last home game.
Last home game happened to be right by his mom.
Small world.
And she's like, "I'm texting him right now.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wouldn't respond to you on Twitter." So then he immediately responded and said, "Oh, I missed it somehow. Whatever." No hard feelings. Who else? Oh, if you guys are interested in hearing from certain people, we would love to hear, because we're going to try, like I talked about, Don Mattingly. I would love to get on the show. We grew up in the same place. We know a lot of the same people. Would love to get him on the show. Craig Mish, who's covers the Marlins,
beat, yeah.
but he's also covers a lot of other baseball. I'd like to get him on.
He was the guy actually that brought up the idea that I saw today on Twitter, Salvador Perez.
Oh, okay. I'd like to get Jason Benetti, who's the play-by-play guy
Yeah.
for the White Sox. Boog Shambi, who's the play-by-play for the Cubs. Guys that I just like to.
We'll line Boog up when we get Contreras.
Yeah, exactly, and hopefully Dan Dockage will help
Get his
initiate
reaction. Yeah.
initiate those things. Who else? Have we talked about getting? I can't think of anybody else at the moment, but just hope to get some some good guests and keep the conversation flowing and keep you interested. Johnny, again, he apologizes for asking all the questions we already talked about. And he says, get Derek Gould. Yeah, we've tried. I think we've messaged before. Derek wants to push his own things out, which I can't blame him.
They've got their own podcast too.
They have their own podcast that they don't really want to give. I want to get that Ben Verlander access. They were doing live interviews from the field.
That'd be fun.
How does he get that? Just because his brother's Jason?
Well, it's a Fox Sports. I mean, he's with Fox.
Oh,
now.
Is it a Fox thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't tell the
And plus, I mean, I'm sure being Justin Verlander's brother doesn't help.
Yeah.
Or does help.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt.
Because he was out there on the field. I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
Like they just let him. Like, dang. How about that? But I personally don't really care for his podcast. But I think he just says a lot of hyperbole type things.
Right.
Just to get people riled up. But let's talk briefly about our. He called you Josh. Will called you Josh. And
sticking to the dugout. Yeah.
And not Paul DeYoung. Let's talk about briefly our sponsors, Breaking Tea. If you don't know anything about Breaking Tea makes awesome shirts. I have a hoodie upstairs that doesn't fit that I'm sending back. But breakingtea.com/that's a winter podcast. Is it the whole thing?
I think it's just That's a Winter Pod.
That's a Winter Pod. Breakingtea.com/That's a Winter Pod. All the sales from that, we get a little bit of that because of you buying from them. Obviously, they're not making any new shirts currently, but new mugs and hoodies. I like hoodies. So I have a MV Goldie hoodie that doesn't fit because he's going to be the MVP. Yes. Speaking of that, retweet our tweet out there for MVP. If Paul Goldschmidt is named MVP, we will give away a Paul Goldschmidt jersey. So we fully expect that to happen. I don't know when that's supposed to be announced, but we do expect that to happen. And that tweet is pinned on our Twitter at That's a Winter Pod. You retweet that, and we'll get you in the running possibly for a T-shirt. We gave away. For a jersey, we gave away a T-shirt to a guy this year, Breaking Tea, for what was that one? What T-shirt did he get?
I think it was MVP.
Was it a Goldie?
Was
it a Goldie T?
Yeah.
Okay, so he got a Goldie T-shirt, and what else? Anchor is one of our sponsors. They give us money for you guys listening on there. So if you want to listen to the podcast, we love that you get us through any of the mediums that Anchor provides. So Spotify, Apple.
Yep.
What was the one? Casts. Something Cast.
Pocket Cast.
Pocket Cast. Yeah, Pocket Cast. All of those funnel to the same place. Every time you listen there, we get a little money through Anchor. You'll hear my voice for an ad at the beginning of that. And SGG Media.
Yes.
We're going to tweet out some of their stuff based on
sports betting. Yeah.
Sports betting stuff
Lines
as
well.
And, if you're interested in advertising, we'll put you on here and give you access to the best fans in baseball.
There you go.
We really appreciate everyone listening, watching. Tonight we've had tons of people on all night watching with us. What do you got? Anything else? I appreciate it. Season 2 is on the way. This is it. Season 2 is started. We are moving forward to 2023, the end of 2022. That's it. We're on to season 2. We're on to 2023 season. We're going to talk about the winter meetings. We're going to talk about hot stove. We're going to go into all those things. Hopefully have some good guests. Hope everyone joins us the rest of the year. Right?
Yeah, go watch the World Series, and maybe we'll see Justin Verlander in a Cardinals uniform after this year.
Not gonna happen. We even talk about pitching. Not gonna happen. They're not gonna sign any pitchers worth a damn. All right, for That's a Winter Podcast, I'm Ryan Jenkins. That is Josh Brown. Appreciate you.
Shooter from the belt to the plate. A swing and a miss, and that's the winner. That's the winner. A World Series winner for the Cardinals. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run, and the Cardinals have won the game by the score of 3-2 on a home run by the Wizard. Go crazy. Swinging a long one into left field. Adios, goodbye, and maybe that's the winner. A 3-run homer by Clark, and the Cardinals lead by the score of 7-5, and they may go to a World Series on that one, folks.
What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs. in 2011.